Today on Off the Hinges, relax, pour yourself a drink, and unwind from your week as I answer your questions and share stories about this week's trade. I'm joined by a special guest, and I have my whiskey in hand. I'm so glad you made it. Are you ready? Let's slide into the vault.
So we're recording this early, but I had to double check my calendar. And the day we're dropping this episode on problem framing, this is the last episode in Off the Hinges for 2025. It's with such a dear friend. I can't wait for her to give a quick introduction. But yesterday was the American Thanksgiving, Christmas. I don't even know what the days are anymore, Maida. Good God. 25 December was yesterday. So hopefully Santa brought you something nice. Hopefully the fat man didn't eat all your cookies and steal all your milk, whatever you needed to do. But it's
if I am the fat man, then he did.
Then he did. God, we just started laughing. She's like, just click record, man. We just got to go for this. So, oh my God.
You're missing some good content.
Happy
here.
holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you got going on. We're glad you joined us. We're going to chop it up. We're going to cut it up. A great virtue with a greater friend. Hopefully you're fat and happy and enjoying family and finding time to listen to such a dear friend of mine. I'm going to take a sip and introduce yourself quickly to all of the people listening, watching, all of the above. Over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and happy holidays. And if you've made it this far, I'm really grateful for you for being here. My name is Maida, and I am a co-owner of Opus Blaze, which my, Gabe Adibe, you know him, Josh. We went to TBS together, which is where I met Josh and where our friendship started. And likewise with Gabe, I started our own business in strategic communication. And, it's not always you get to have friends that you meet in passing in one way, and then you stay friends all this time. So, that's why I told you to start recording when we were talking, when we were
we just got to go.
we just
chop it up.
Because,
dude, I know that's so cool. Cause so the basic school, like the basic officer course for Marine Corps officers, and might all get into her story and tell you. But yeah, just a fascinating story from her. But we were both going through our basic officer training, the 6-month training in Quantico, Virginia together. And that's when I first met her. And yeah, just immediately struck it off. A great friend, obviously a professional in everything she did. And some people, I think that's just how it is. Some people just mesh and resonate and click. And that's how we've been. And I'm so proud of you. I can't wait for you to unpack where you are with the family. And you can get into your story, but where are you right now? Physically in the world. Tell the people where you were dialing this up from. Because I'm in Norway, but what you doing?
Paris. I am living my best croissant eating life right now. We are in Paris, France. Yeah. So
what took you out there? Give us a quick elevator pitch. Why are you out there? What you doing?
Elevator pitch. My husband, my lovely, lovely husband, Maida Zheng. He is an exchange student at École Militaire. So he gets to go and speak French all day and learn military operations the way the French people do it. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting to see the things that are similar, the things that are different. Because as you know, both of us being Marines, me doing the mom thing right now, I still get to hear the stories and I get to feel like I'm a part of it. You get to kind of dip your toes, but you don't have to fully immerse yourself in it. And he comes home and he's like, this is what we did today. And I was like, oh, glad it's you, not me.
Right.
But I get to be home and really truly explore and learn the history of the city and do it with my kids,
That's so good.
My son, Benjamin, he goes to school, the local school here in Paris. We're in the 16th arrondissement, which is just the neighborhood, essentially.
Right.
And everybody asked me, are you sending him to a bilingual school? I said, no, this child will learn French in the same way that I, as a child, had to just be thrown in and learn different languages. But
I know.
It's
so good.
I could go all day about him and how incredible he's doing in school and how much he loves it.
You got the mic, girl. Do you take all day long if you want talking about your kids? I'm never going to shut that down. What a gift.
This kid, Benny, come on. I know I'm going to steal your thunder here. You're going to ask me, what are you grateful for? And I got to tell you, this kid, he, you look at your firstborn. I have 2 kids. I have Benjamin and Layla. and they're 18 months apart. And when Benny got here, at 3 years old, they start school. It's not daycare. It's not, like something that you look at. It's like legit school. They have a teacher. They go and they sit down and they have a curriculum. And every day there's like something that they're doing. He comes home and he brings home something that he worked on. But what I find most incredible is when he comes home and he speaks English, French, Bosnian, and he just mixes it all together, and his little brain keeps it straight. When he's talking to Daddy and me, it's English. When he's talking to just me, it'll be a little bit of French. And when he's talking to Grandma, my brother, who's here visiting, it's Bosnian. And this kid, I mean, he does it all. And same thing for my daughter, who, is 2. She just turned 2 in August. She's over here speaking 2 different languages and knows how to walk down the street and say bonjour, merci, au revoir.
Yeah. That's so rad. I know. I love it because, it's the same with our girls. Who knows what the future will hold here for us in Norway, but right now we're in Norway. Our oldest one is in international school, but she plays on the local, football club, and they are just speaking straight Norwegian the whole time. So she's not fluent speaking. She's 9, but she can understand nearly all of it. And she speaks enough. And then the 7-year-old is fluent with dialect and everything. Like, people are shocked when they hear she's not from here because they're like, whoa, like she is perfect dialect, everything. And then our 3-year-old is in what they call Barnehage, which is like preschool. They call it kindergarten is what it translates. But
so it's similar to here,
So she's grown up probably the truest bilingual because we moved here when she was only a few months old. And our neighbors and all of the locals have always spoken Norwegian to her. So she has grown up hearing Norwegian just as much, if not more, than English. So she is fully understanding the spoken language. And now she's almost like a 50-50 mix of Norwegian and English, and watching her little mind like spit out some Norwegian words, and watching the way even her posture and her tone shifts when she's going to respond. So if I look at her and I'll be like, Karina, snakker du norsk? And she'll, yeah, papa. And then she'll just like, her whole body and language changes because she's just embracing,
turn
like,
on the Norwegian.
She's like, I got to be more melodic. But like you said, I think I would echo that. You beat me to the punch, but I love it. Like, what are you thankful for? And especially coming off, Christmas into the holiday season, gearing up for a new year. I'm just so thankful for family and friends and meaningful connections, and you being here today and getting to share your voice and your story and your perspective on this virtue, which is everything to me, how we build our virtue and our identity and our character. And doing it with people I trust is, man, it's everything. It is to have long-standing friendships. I think the older I get, the sappier I get. And the more I'm just so thankful for people like you that just are unshakable.
That stick around,
just unshakable. And there's so much of that comes from your character of who you are and where you've come from and what you've done. But it's a choice too. And so So thanks for beating me to the gratitude punch, because that's how I always start it. So
I know.
There was number one.
This is why we're buddies, because like at the end of the day, I think that's the first conversation you and I have ever had. Sitting in the hallway at the basic school, just unpacking who you are, who am I, and then why. I remember telling you how grateful I am to be United States Marine.
I know.
Talking to you, who I believe you were a staff sergeant turned officer, right?
I've done it for a hot minute.
You were a staff sergeant.
I was in this team, so I was a staff sergeant. That's a great question, though. So when I commissioned, I had been selected from the below zone for promotion to gunny, and I turned down promotion to commission. So no, I never pinned on gunny. That would have been rad. But I was selected, which was dope, and I was like,
yeah, that would have been shaken off. Just go ahead. Go ahead. Here, I got you.
Whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, but I remember talking to you about that, because it's like I don't know, I think for us as people, you just have to find the things you're grateful in if you want to be able to get over the obstacles, right? And
absolutely.
Life is full of obstacles, so hold on to the things that matter to you, and then you can get over.
Yeah, and the relationships and the friends and especially the family, and now that we both have kids this many years later, like, what a gift. There is always obstacles and struggles, like that's part of life, and I don't think I wouldn't avoid them either, because they do shape who we are. But it's so meaningful. It is, but it's so meaningful to do it with great people and to find those great people. And gratitude just it's everything. It sets the posture for these discussions and these episodes. It sets the posture for friendships. And what a gift. Thanks for saying that. Like to remember, our first interaction was exploring each other's stories and sharing gratitude. And that's just a cool thing to be remembered by. Like, I don't know. So all you'll need to find more Maidas in your life. Go out and good luck. There's not many, but go on and find them. They're out there somewhere. But okay. So since you beat me to number one, next, what have you been learning lately? Aside from French and all of that, like, or maybe that's it. What's on your learning docket? What you been learning?
Well, French, yes, very much French. And it's funny because every day I'll go into the boulangerie and I'll go and I'll prep my brain. I'm like, it's une baguette. See, I'm already forgetting because masculine, feminine, like the bread is masculine or feminine, and you have to go in and you got to say it right, or they'll correct you.
Yep,
and this morning I went in super confident and I said, un baguette sésame. And the lady looks at me and she goes, une baguette sésame. And I said, you know what? Deux baguettes sésame. And the whole place was laughing because I was like, let's just drop it. Give me two.
I'm going to avoid this. Just give me more. It's fine.
Yeah, this is why I always order two. Never order one.
It's not because you're hungry. It's just to avoid the whole subject-verb agreement.
Exactly. Which I'm grateful for English because it's a baguette.
Right.
You know, simple.
Arguably.
Yes, arguably. Let's see the other stuff besides French. You know, I take French class Tuesdays and Thursdays, which takes up about 2 hours of the day. And I joined this really cool club, École, which is the spouses of the military folks that are here at École Militaire. They get together and we go, and there's like these field trips that we go on. And I hate to use the word field trips because I'm a student, right? I'm a young kid again.
You are.
Feels good to be known as a young person because I don't think my son looks at me as like I'm a young person.
Nah,
like,
you're
so old.
But that's okay. Yeah.
But no, we go on these field trips and you get to see the mayor's office. You get to go to Hotel de Ville. You get to go to a different location, different place. And it's like, you get to hear the historical context from French people about why these buildings, why the culture, why the history is important. So I've kind of made it my bucket list to, have a babysitter. Not that I don't love taking my kids to some of these things, but it is a really different experience when you can go by yourself, take the audio guide, which I recommend, pay the €4 for the audio guide wherever you're going, and then just, promenade. Just go through and slowly check it out and listen to the historical stuff. Yeah. But that's as far as Paris and France goes. But, I like to try to keep myself sharp intellectually as well. And one of the books that I'm reading right now, just happen to have it here, is The Story Grid. It's coming up backwards for you.
No, it's regular. I see it.
No, it's regular. It's backwards for me, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, no, what good editors know, because English is not my first language. It's also not my second language. So when I think about editing and running a business where I'm trying to, help people tell their story, well, what is it that makes a good story? So I've been kind of breaking down the, nuts and bolts of what makes a good story, and then trying to figure out, he gives you the formula in this book, but I want to see how I would be able to interpret it and make it my own, and see how I can apply it to the work that I do every day.
So what are your first and second languages? Because you said English isn't your first or your second, so we'll get into your story in a minute. But
Bosnian and German.
See, there's a little teaser. Stick around because shortly you'll find out why. But yeah, I knew that answer. But I want to encourage you real fast too, because I'll pipe in and say, with you saying that that's your learning, and the language is, and then the culture, I would say, is not anything to be sort of shirked off or be like, let me find something else. And I'll say this from the perspective of watching Laura, my wife. So you being there with Peter, and he's there for the military and he's doing his thing. First of all, you didn't have to go take lessons to learn the language. I mean, it might make it difficult. It just depends on where you're at. But it's not like anyone forced you to. So the fact that you did that, I will just share with you what I've noticed my wife do. And I hear a lot of the same things you're saying, and just say, like, I'm really proud of you, because I know it's not easy, even if it's enjoyable and rewarding. So she's been here in Norway and been working towards stuff for her job. But she learned the language. She's worked really hard on it. Norwegian is not an easy language.
No.
And she's crushed it. Like, she just finally retook the written portion. She's B2 level in the reading, speaking, listening, and she was B1 in writing, just retested. She'll find out the beginning of January, and she feels like she did really well and might be B2 level. So that is like a high accomplishment.
That's incredible.
And she asked me, she was like, well, what do you think if maybe we don't, get a chance to stay here longer term like we might want to, or who knows what the Marine Corps will have us do or what the future holds. And what you just said about how thankful you are for your children and their ability to learn things. I said, hey, listen, me working in NATO, I haven't learned Norwegian. I can understand some of it, but I don't like fluently communicate in it at all. I said, but you do, and you can. I said, so even if it's just for our children's sake, that they can come home from a school and share with you what they're learning and start speaking in a different tongue to you. If nobody in our home spoke it aside from them, it might be a little more discouraging for their learning. But I said, the fact that you've challenged yourself as a grown woman north of 40, doing all of this, I said, it serves them and our family so well. And I was like, as a husband and a father, I'm so proud of you, because even if we didn't live here anymore in a year, I said, for this season of our girls' life, they have felt more welcomed in this culture because you've been a part of it with them. And it's made it easier in the culture for Laura, but like, I want to honor you in that, because I know it's difficult. And I know there's times where you just want to be like, F it. This is so hard. Or I wish I could just speak in a language that's comfortable. Like, I get it. It's not easy. Even if it's fun, it's not easy. But like, as a mother and as a spouse and as someone who's really trying to learn the culture you're in for whatever season that is beyond admirable. And I'm really proud of you for that. So you need to hear that from me before we keep riding this train, because that's big time, dude. It is.
Oh man, thank you. And shout out to you, Laura, too, for that's incredible.
She gets all the shout out. She's a rock star.
Yeah, but that's incredible.
It's even, I think honing it back in on the kids for me is like, even if we're like, what good is this for us? It's almost like coming off the last virtue that we just discussed with Matt Bride, who's a lieutenant colonel. He was in 2-1 with me, but it was on selflessness. And it's sort of like the accountability, the discipline, all these current virtues leading into selflessness. And then now we're going to talk into problem framing. They all are connected, though, because when the heart is a posture of, what am I doing for my kids, for my family, for those around me? It almost levels the playing field on all of the silly hurdles that we need to jump over to learn new things. Because it's just like, why wouldn't I do that for them and for our family?
Yeah.
And I see that and hear that so much in you and who I know you to be. So I'm just proud of you. That's all I got.
Well, it like language in general, not only like, God, it has so many benefits besides everything that you just mentioned, that you think about it for a second. You're like, not only is she a good role model, Laura, to your kids, and the fact that, yes, there are hard things. I can do hard things and I can challenge myself even as you get older, because learning a language when you're old is difficult. It makes you want to just sit in the, just like let it sink in. Just, I'm going to put the book under the pillow and hope it,
soak in. That doesn't work, by the way.
It doesn't. I've tried that as a kid. I'm like, what is a mitochondria? What is it? Yeah. Anyway, but the way the other thing I think about is us as a people, right? And I know we're going to get into problem framing, but when you learn a new language, you learn, and a new culture, you learn how to think differently. And that arguably, the curiosity to think differently, it might be, this is my humble opinion, one of the most important qualities, one of the most important skill sets we as humans need to have. Because if you're stuck in your ways and refuse to be curious, if you refuse to move forward or backwards to reflect, right? Then what are you doing? You're in limbo.
It's everything. It is everything. It's so funny because, I talked with a really dear friend when I was thinking of sort of the framework for, speaking of problem framing, not all problems are bad, but when I was thinking of the framework for foundational coaching, and I was like, I wanted a tagline, I wanted a vision, I wanted things that stuck. And it was just, one day it just sort of landed. And I talked with a really good friend of mine, Alana Castro. She's got her PhD. She does research stuff with the Marine Corps out in McTaug. Never been in the military, but just a brilliant mind, like one of the dear friends and mentors I have. And I shared it with her and she was like, that's it. And it's empowering culture, engaging curiosity, energizing creativity. And those are not only like what I want to bring to the table to offer to others. Those are things that I want to be hallmarks of my life, is that I empowered culture in you, and I came with an empowering culture, right? And I energized this, or I engaged this curiosity. So like I engaged your curiosity. I had a curiosity myself that was engaging. So it like works in a relational in all of these words. And then
exactly.
Like I want to energize your creativity. I want my creativity to be energizing. So like I want all of these things to be the full package deal. And like the best questions and the humble approach to like learn a new perspective that a new language and culture offer gives a whole new paradigm to how you view life and its problems, because you are just so open and receptive to the beauty of new and different that you aren't exposed to yet. And you're just like, oh, now I have a totally different lens I can throw on this thing.
Exactly.
And it can be everything. And to good on all of us, actually. Good on you and me too for like bringing this into our families and teaching our kids the value of it.
Yeah, because sometimes you forget, like when things get hard and you forget, like, how do I get over this hump? And it's when you stop to reflect and when the brain starts to, fire, it's that curiosity.
Right.
And, that gets you to the next step. Yes, resiliency is what gets you to stay strong through the moment.
Sure.
All of the different virtues and values that life brings, but for you to be able to actually take a moment and say, how do I get to the next step? That's curiosity. And that is also problem framing.
Yeah, it is. And it's really interesting because what goes around comes around. The very first episode, and this was, I didn't even really think about this until you said it that way. And I just spoke of Alana. So maybe it's a little divine intervention, but like my very first episode of 2025 was Curiosity with Alana Nicastro.
I literally was going to say, was she the first person? Because I remember watching that episode.
Yeah, and she's so amazing. But like, what a gift also, and I mean this sincerely, is that like I have very strong women and friends in my life that my daughters and others can look up to. And like to start and end the year with two women who are very successful, I respect dearly, that can speak into these spaces. Because let's be honest to everybody, I am not hurting for the connections with very accomplished top leaders, senior leaders, executives in the military realm with a lot of rank or a lot of accolades. And what a lot of people might chase or expect the platform to be, I love making it different because it's, God, my target audience is always my daughters first. So they always see it in their mom, but I'm always so excited to offer a stage and a mic and a platform to other strong people and strong women that I've been able to grow with and learn from, who can bring these perspectives in. Because now, we started the year with Curiosity with Alana. We're closing it out with problem framing with Maida. And good Lord, buckle up for the story you hear from her, because like, it's just so cool. You don't hear this anywhere else. And that opportunity for me is, it's priceless. But moving along, because I could stay here all day. Maybe we will.
Yeah.
So aside from learning, because I think learning is good, but then hopefully it's driving some sort of growth. So how are you hoping to grow or transform yourself as you try to find time for rest and reflection in the space between the crazy life of being a mom and language and all that good stuff?
Listen, that's a good question. How do you,
I know
when you find out the answer with toddlers, you let me know. Because rest, I don't know what that 4-letter word is, but it doesn't exist truly. But in all honesty, I think the way I rest and the way I grow, and I don't want to make this sound cliche, is watching my family grow. Like it energizes me. It refuels me. Even if I have a late night with the kids, or my husband has to leave really early in the morning and we're prepping the night before or something like that. Like, yes, rest traditionally is sleep, but if you look at an introvert and extrovert, what gives you the energy to continue?
Right.
What refuels you? And I will say it's my family, and seeing my family just grow every day, just emotionally, physically, everything, just getting closer. The different chapters, like It's like it's going too fast. And my son constantly tells me, and he's about to be 4, and he constantly tells me, you know, Mom, I'm gonna grow up. And I always tell him, like, you can't grow up. You're growing up too fast. And he's like, no, I have to grow up. I'm gonna be tall like you. So I know he means it literally. But to me, it's like, how do I enjoy this moment? And that to me is growth, is being present in the moment, being there, not having the phone out, not having my mind distracted somewhere, being physically, mentally, emotionally present for my family. And that to me is growth.
Yeah.
And being able to do that. So my challenge for next year, and continued challenge, to close out this year, is to really, really, like, I did pretty good this year with it, but I think next year it's going to be, I don't want the phone in the room. When the kids and I are in the same space, I am not glancing at that phone. And this is my time. You are my, person. And we do it all the time, right? Like during this podcast, we put it on Do Not Disturb.
Right.
We do it all the time. But why is it when our families are there, or our kids, or the people that are most dearest to us, or we're sitting in a restaurant, you can't put it on Do Not Disturb. You have to like scroll and check the feed or something. And that's why my challenge for next year is I'm going to put that thing away.
Do it. I love it. That's really good. I started doing something, I don't know, several months ago, and I told my Marine general that I work with here in Norway, I said, hey, just so you know, I'm going to start taking like a 24-hour, phone hiatus, and it's going to start, I said it's going to be no less than 24 hours. I said it's actually pretty much going to be the weekend unless I absolutely have to use it for something. I said, so if you need something, Laura will have hers on, but I said I power it off and put it away. Friday night, we have family movie night and pizza. And when I come home,
that's what we do.
we make pizzas together. Once in a while we might order it in, but usually we make it together. We rotate who picks the movie. And starting then and the only reason I say I might power my phone on is if I'm recording an episode with someone, I use my phone as a camera. And so maybe it'll be out for that. But I put it away. I let the girls watch me power it off. They get so excited. And then it doesn't come back out until probably like Sunday evening. So it's almost a 2-day off. And then I just tell people, like, if you need something, message Laura, because I'm with my family. So the people I need are with me. And if you need me, if you really need me, if it's an emergency, then you can contact Laura.
That's how you get a hold of me.
Yeah. And my general knows that too. I was like, if you really need something, and he's like, that's fantastic. He's like, that's a really
good boss.
No, he's great.
Boss.
No, but it's just like, I just communicated. I was like, my girls need this. I need this. I need it for my own mental, like, purging and resetting. And it just lets me be present. And when I do it as well, when we go to friends' houses, like I took Laura out for a little, like, cold plunge sauna on the fjord. And then we had sushi dinner. And when we went with our friends, I left my phone and I told my friends, hey, if you need us, like, Laura's got it. Babysat it with the girls. So whoever needs us can get a hold of Laura. So when I'm out with Laura and other people, as long as she has a charged phone for emergency purposes, my phone stays home, because now I can just be with people. And it has, I would say it really has. It has drastically improved me. And I think I was always present for other people. I was good, but there was always the urge of like, what if someone needs me? And they don't. So it wasn't anything that they observed. It was more for me internally. I was always doing this weird battle with like, what if? And so now
somebody might need me, but like, what about the people right there?
And nobody does, unless they're the ones with you who actually need you. So I was like, now I just remove the distraction completely. It's not even an option. God, it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a really good response. Good for you. And it sort of aligns to like being able to just sit down and be patient. Maybe I'm grasping for straws here, but that is going to be the very first. Here's a sneak peek into 2026 for all of y'all. My very first episode coming off the holidays is going to be the virtue of patience. And I find that when it comes to problem solving, when it comes to a lot of things in life, in a very hustle and bustle lifestyle, one of my really dear friends who's going to be the guest was just like, and I said, what do you think of this, man? I said, because I really think there's power in setting the tone for the whole year with the virtue we choose. And I think this really resonates with who you are, and you wanted to be the first one. And I said, what about patience? And he's like, oh, that's a difficult one because it's always a struggle of mine. But yes. So like, I want to start 26, moving from problem framing into like, how do you really grow in patience through your struggles, through the relationships that take time to really nurture and cultivate and grow? It's like gardening, like things take time and you can't outrace it. You have to be patient with it. And man, you got my brain firing on all cylinders right now. Look at you.
I know. It actually feels good. It feels good.
It does. It's really good. So before we jump into your story, this next, I love the what's your story question, and it's coming after this one. But this is really helpful because as we're talking about problem framing, again, it's really helpful to get the lens and perspective of the people you're talking with. So I don't want to assume, and I want to challenge everybody, like, take your preconceived notions. Don't look for this little confirmation bias of, oh, is Maida going to look at this the way I do? Maybe she will, maybe she won't. But like, this is the point where I want people to really try to adapt the lens of how you, the guest, view this, because it informs everything as we dive into this virtue together. It is the framework for how we look at this. And so how would you define or frame problem framing through the mind of Maida?
You don't want to go through the mind of Maida because literally it's all over the place. But
that's okay.
Let me focus myself for 2 seconds. And honestly, problem framing is everything. It truly is everything. And you'll understand why if you even remotely try to break down any business that uses problem framing, whether it's the Department of Defense and its branches, whether it's a Fortune 500 company or a mom and pop shop, or somebody that's brand new trying to start a business, you always, before you get started, you have to define the problem, right? You have to figure out what the problem is. And an incorrectly framed problem, you might have the best solution in the world, but if you didn't define the problem, then nothing you've planned truly matters, right?
Right.
So problem framing to me is everything. It really is everything. Before you can even start to think of a solution, we have to like peel back the onion and define the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the most succinctly way that I can say it is asking the right question in the right order is what will get you closest to defining the right problem. Right. Because from there, it's strategy. And strategy can mean whatever it means to you. But I think we as humans know that if a problem is misframed, if it's not framed correctly, we solve the problem differently. Right. And you can use it as simple as, just the other day, my husband and I were talking about laundry, right? And I asked, oh, you did the last load of laundry. Did you buy laundry detergent? His brain heard, I didn't buy laundry detergent. I did the last load, but the last person who ran out of the thing should have bought the laundry detergent. And his brain immediately went defensive. And I love you, Peter. This is all good. We're in a good place. So that's right. Why I'm in a comfortable place relationship wise where I can bring up something like that.
That's right.
As silly as it is. But immediately his brain was thinking, the problem is I thought he didn't buy laundry detergent.
Right.
Right? So a misframed problem changes a complete understanding of the situation, right?
Right.
So,
and that's between a married couple who hopefully should be thick as thieves, yo. Like,
we are, dude.
Right, I know.
And that's what I'm saying. So then when you look at a business and you have two people from two different lives who don't spend 24/7 together, and they go into a business meeting and somebody says, all right, we need to get ready for next quarter's X. And if you don't come in with the same defined frame, the problem frame, that's when people start to do, like, you misorganize time, you waste time, you start solving problems. Like, you create problems. When you don't have problem framing, you create problems.
So many more. It's so true. That's so rich. And yeah, thanks for that, because I think it is one of the most paramount things that you can understand. And it's one of those things where I had a friend go like, ooh, do you really view problem framing as a virtue? I was like, well, yeah, I could sit here and what if it and question how you define things. I said, but the way I would view a virtue and something like really a core characteristic that I want to develop inside of me, I do view this as something that you can build. And it takes, I had a really good talk with a friend the other day. He's a mix of like West African and Nordics. I think his mother is from Norway and his father is from West Africa somewhere. And he does organizational psychology stuff here in Norway. And he explores like through some different psychometrics, the concept of Ubuntu, which is from South Africa. And so this whole idea of, and that's sort of how I view it. It's like this virtue where like, if you take problem framing, it's almost like this encompassing virtue that is comprised of so many other things. Like you were talking of your ability to be curious, to be humble, to like have patience, to have resilience, to have a good, strong identity. So there's so many other virtues that when you like collapse them all together, you go like, okay, now I have the package deal that can really appreciate this virtue of problem framing. So it sort of is an umbrella for so many different virtues, but I think it is itself a virtue. Like one's ability to really embrace problem framing it's sort of like that Ubuntu. Like it encapsulates so much more than just the words in its definition to me.
Yeah.
It really is sort of a big deal.
I think it's a huge deal. I think, you know, like when you think about, you know, the theory of planned behavior, like throw in something like that, which is a framework for how people choose, like the intentions behind when somebody chooses to do something versus not. And doctors and even people in communication and counselors and everybody's taught, well, how do you get to the root of getting somebody to do something, changing a behavior, taking action? Well, it starts with how you frame the problem. So if I tell one person, you know, you have type 2 diabetes, diet and exercise will help you, you know, manage your symptoms. That person might look at that and go, yeah, great, let's do it. But if you frame it exactly the same, if you take that framing exactly the same to another person, they might look at you and say, well, looks like I need insulin because diet and exercise is not for me. And they might shut down and you'll never get them to do what you need them to do. That's in their best interest.
Yeah.
And that's why, so I had a mentor, somebody that I used to work for, and he had an example that he used when he taught strategy. And it was an Albert Einstein quote. And it's, if I had, let me think about it. If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. Because once I know the proper question, I know I can solve the problem in less than 5 minutes.
Right.
So to me, problem framing sets up your understanding of what it is you need to do.
Right.
And it's important. From a military perspective, it's one of the most important parts of our planning process, right? Problem framing. Because that truly takes the commander down a road. If a problem is defined in one way, that's the difference between using force or not, right?
Yep. Oh yeah,
Now
I mean,
you take
like,
that example
it is absolutely.
You take that example into the business world. You know, maybe they're not dealing with lives lost or anything like that, but it's the difference between, you know, putting in all the effort towards one part of the company versus another. And the next thing you know, you're losing $1 billion a day because you misframed, you didn't do the proper problem framing analysis. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, I teach joint operational planners across all of NATO headquarters, and that is when we run these JOPG leaders workshops is what we call them. And we're teaching operational to strategic level planners and senior leaders on this. That's exactly what it is. And your problem framing and the problem statement and the ability to understand that correctly is an all of staff effort. And also that is the North Star for your follow-on commander's intent and then follow-on mission statements and the tasks that are associated. So it is the starting framework, unintended, for everything. And if you build all of that off of the wrong framing, you're not going to meet the end state as you would envision it and hope it to be. So you're trying to move from these undesirable to desirable conditions. And how do we get to this acceptable state to where we've accomplished the mission? Well, what is that mission? Well, it's based on what our commander, his intent is. Well, what is that based off of? Properly framed and stated problem. Like,
exactly.
What's the big deal? What's this all about? Yo. And it sounds like, oh yeah, that's simple. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Because you're laced, like you said, you're laced behaviorally with your own metaphors you think in.
Biases.
Your own biases that you think in, which we've done a lot of talking on that and worked with like my Marines before when you came on a PME with your colleague years ago. And there's so much like psychological research in that, how I can give you the same facts, but frame them in a different word. And if I use the different word, not only in the same language, but culturally different, I'm painting a different mental image, which causes a more visceral reaction that you now will justify with the facts, but it's actually the framework is what you made your decision off of. It is so powerful. The power in that is everything. And it's not bad. You can use it for, like, manipulation isn't always a bad thing. I might need to manipulate things to fit together better, and I might need to be very choice on my words in communication, but communication and problem framing are so married at the hip in this discussion because the words you choose and use and the metaphors you paint and the images you portray, literally with images or words or charts, the colors, do I use colors at all? Everything elicits a response, maybe a reaction. It's everything. And then from there, the whole team that ship has sailed. It does.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes a really brave person to say, hey, I think maybe we're looking at this the wrong way. And
be that one outlier. Go ahead. Right.
Yeah. Right. And like, it gives me goosebumps.
I'm happy
Look at
to,
this.
by
I
the way.
literally have goosebumps. But I literally have
true.
goosebumps to think of the soul, the person. And it takes a really brave person to say, I don't think we identified the problem. Like we have done this completely wrong.
And everyone's like, get out of here, Karen. Go home. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I don't know why. Sorry if you're Karen listening to this.
Yeah,
sorry, Karen. But it seemed fitting. I'm sorry. Don't take offense to that. We apologize, Karen.
You just said you were that, so.
Yeah, well, there you have it.
But listen, like I challenge everybody. It's with the context of framing in mind. Spend the next week, and I challenge every single person to do this, because I do this every day, and this is where I think curiosity has to come in. But watch the news or watch a movie, and watch it from one frame of reference. And maybe let's take the news because it's the easiest example. Maybe you're politically aligned one way, but your parents are politically aligned another way. I challenge you, watch it from their perspective. I challenge you. And then maybe for a second, if you are able to let go of your own beliefs, your own biases, and you try to see it from somebody else's perspective, maybe you can see why they think the way that they do. And it's only then that you can come to a place where Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, New Year's, the next family reunion, when you guys are together, that there isn't an all-out bash and somebody's not silent because somebody decided to bring up politics during a family dinner, right?
Right. So good. And it arms you with like the best questions, not to prove a point, but to make a difference and to maybe get some more connection with others, which hopefully that's our point of everything is if I'm on your side. Now there's definitely, adversaries and people who are out to harm you. I'm not saying anything about that, but I'm just saying, like perfect example.
Yeah.
Holidays. We just came off of Christmas. Hopefully that didn't like cause some traumatic memories from like a day ago for y'all. But like sometimes the best engagements and encounters with loved ones who might hold a different stance than you isn't always to avoid the problem at hand. It's just to be kind in that space and to ask good questions to get their opinion. And in that, you might learn so much. Well, I wouldn't say you might. I would say you will learn so much if you approach it with the right curiosity that at a minimum arms you with a way as a leader that you can step into that space appreciating a different lens now. Because that's so needed.
And I think this is, soft skill, hard skills. I hate to call it a soft skill because I think it's truly, that's a framing, right? But I think for a leader to be able to do this, to understand how to frame a problem, to understand how framing changes somebody's interpretation of what they need to do, what needs to be done, that is a skill set that we all as leaders need to have.
Yeah.
Arguably.
100%. No, 100%.
The most important
I agree.
one, because it's why? Because it's driven through curiosity. And to me, curiosity feeds the soul. So, you can always go back. It always connects again.
It sure does. But I'm going to get into this next question because, man, this is the one I'm just dying for you to unpack. And so much for those of you listening today, so much of Maida's ability to speak with some authority on this comes not just from positions that she held in the military or the Marine Corps, which are fantastic, and she'll share some of that, I hope. And if she forgets, I'll prod her and remind her. But it also comes from like the formative stages of Maida. And when you talk about her ability to speak about framing problems to then hopefully understand how to solve the problems later, we can flash back to our episode with Miles, who's a gunny and just a rock star. Really good buddy of mine. But he can't solve a problem that's improperly framed. So it is the starting point. And the starting point of how she can speak to you on this today and why I'm so glad she chose this is like who I know her to be through the stories that we've shared from just her life as a young girl, the struggles that she's gone through with that, and just such a unique, awesome story. So just however you want to paint this canvas, it's clear for you with whatever colors you want. But like, what is your story? And what do you want to share on that with us?
I told you from the beginning that this is a difficult one for me because
I know.
Nobody likes to talk about themselves. At least most people don't like to talk about themselves.
I know.
But I do want to
But it's important.
Yeah, I do want to take this question to heart and try to answer it as, I don't know, honestly and succinctly as I can. But I think for me, it all starts, for those that don't know, I was born in Bosnia. And in 89 and in 92, the Bosnian War broke out. And, from that moment, I think I was 2.5, maybe 3 years old. My dad, my family, he has spent whatever time he could before he was sent away to go fight in the war to try to get my family out of that war. And my formative years, and I look at my son, and he's the exact same age that I am right now, that I was right now. And I look at him and the things he says, and I try to see the little girl, like I try to think of who that little girl was. And I have some of the people like, no way you can remember that. No way can you remember that. You were just 2, 3 years old. There's impossible. And I'll tell you something. I look at my son right now and he remembers something from a year ago. And I don't know if our brains just choose to forget things or if with age things are forgotten. But I'll tell you, my first memory is being in the basement of a church as a refugee with a shaved head, getting yelled at by an old Bosnian woman because I was being too loud. I was playing with my brother and I was running around and this woman grabs me. And back then, it's never okay, but back then it was okay for older people to discipline children. So she grabs me really harshly and, pinches me on the cheek really hard and tells me, I can still feel it. I can smell it. I can, it's like I'm in the room right now.
Yeah.
And in that moment when my mom grabbed me as a refugee, my dad got us out. We were in Austria. We moved to Vienna, Austria, where we were in this like holding facility. I hate to use the word holding facility, but it was a refugee center and people were helping us. People were kind. And there's a lice problem. All of us are with shaved heads. And I'm sitting there rocking in my mom's arms, just absolutely sitting there. And in that moment, I had this like moment of clarity where I opened my eyes and for the first time, I felt like I looked around and I was like, why am I here? Like, why are we all here? Right. And it's that curiosity as a child that I had sitting there in the basement of that church.
And you said you were 3 at this time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 2.5, 3, something like that.
Wow.
And I can still see that little girl, like I could still see her. And as you try to grow as an adult and you go through the healing processes and things like that, and I have a lot to be grateful for, a lot of people that, helped us. We were Bosnia to Austria to Germany, and then we came to America in 1999 as refugees. And I still remember the refugee center in America. And I remember the first day I walked through the door of this house in Utica, New York. Shout out to Utica 315. I still remember, I kid you not, because as refugees in Austria and Germany, you know, like before we were at a point where we had things and we were able to kind of provide for ourselves. Is a cup of my son with his face. That's a school photo. But I
Love it.
vividly remember drinking and eating out of the same cup. And when we finally came to a point where we had plates and silverware and things like that, I, as a kid, was like, where's my cup? I didn't want it. I didn't understand it. And when you finally start to, I don't know, the grace of people, the kindness of people that choose to, you know, be curious and help others out, you know, when I stepped foot into America and into the home, the new house that was going to be my home, I remember looking and I was like, this is the biggest house I've ever seen in my life. And when I saw what was going to be my room, I asked how many families are going to live here. Because, sorry.
No, that's, man, don't apologize. It's powerful.
Because as a kid, like, you just go with the flow, man. You know, you just, as a kid, you go where your trusted people take you.
Yeah.
And you hope they're doing their best. And I have to give my parents the absolute love and appreciation they deserve, because to have to start over and over again, learn new languages, you know, experience racism, all of that. It really, like, you asked, what's your story? Well, my story is one of people that chose to care. Sorry. People that chose to care. People that showed up, mentors.
Yeah.
I could have a list of people that have made a difference in my life, and my story is them. Because if it wasn't for the goodness of other people, I don't think there'd be a Maida doing a podcast today. Our family would still be, maybe we would have made it out, maybe we wouldn't. You know, we've had family members that didn't make it out with their lives. We've had family members that stuck through it, the whole war, and survived and carry those scars with them. And we've had family members that, you know, like us, were able to make it out and now go back home and see their country for what it is now. And one of the biggest gifts that I have presently is living in France. It's a short flight and it's a 17-hour drive. And I've done both multiple times. And I spent the summer there with my kids because I just wanted them. Like, this is where mommy was gonna be growing up. If people didn't start a war. And there's a really interesting book, and I wish, gosh, I don't have it on my shelf right now. There's a really interesting book that, and I don't mean this to talk poorly about anybody, but the way this author, and I'll have to look it up and give it to you, the way this author talked about the Bosnian War, she said, if mothers and women were in charge of those meetings, we wouldn't have had a war. And that, to me, goes back to problem framing.
Yes.
Because the way you frame a problem really defines what actions you're going to take.
So true.
So.
It's so true.
There it is.
So that brought you to man, thank you for that. I just want to take a moment before we go, because I know there's more to you than that, but yeah, thank you for just the honesty there. And it's, never apologize. You got my eyes watering. Maybe that's peeling back the onions of problem framing, or maybe it's just probably more, honestly, the weight of knowing you as the person in the story.
So excited.
I know. I got so excited for problem framing. No, thank you for that.
Brought me to tears.
It does, because it's real, and it's the connection with people who you love and admire and respect. And it's, hearing you paint that picture of you as a little girl. I don't know if you've ever read the book, All the Light We Cannot See. Have you ever heard of or read that book? It's amazing.
No, I
So
haven't.
it's based off of the tensions between France and Germany in the World War. And then, I mean, it's based off of historical events. And then they made a movie out of it, I think, on Netflix, which wasn't that bad, but it was one of the most brilliant novels that was written. And it's about really looking at that conflict and that war through children's eyes. So it's a young boy who grows up in Germany and becomes, a military member in the German army doing radio stuff. And then there's a little girl who's blind who loses, I think, her mother. And it jumps back and forth as you progress through the story. And it follows them sort of sequentially and staggering their lives as they get older and older, and then they meet towards the end. But you hear all of these things that are really just the fallout of really, I think, proud, arrogant humans that are leading an entire nation and culture into this clash with other people. And it's just, I mean, you and I both served in the Marine Corps, and we've had our share like trying to fight and protect and defend freedom and people that we love. But also there's just such a nasty side to war. Like, war is hell, 100%. And it's not the answer. Let's just be real. And so when I hear those pictures of those stories of little children and that memory of you, like, I just want to honor you in that and say thank you for sharing that, because it touches me as a father to hear the things that we try to impress on them. Like, hey, be so thankful that you have, and I tell them this, that you have a plate and a fork and a knife and a cup, and that you have a meal tonight. And I think when they can hear that from stories like this and not just hear its dad saying the same thing, but they will listen to this, and hopefully when they get older, they can reflect on this.
Hi, girls.
Maybe long. Yeah. Hi, girls. We love you. It's always for you.
Yeah.
But and for your kids too, it's like these stories of other people sharing, like, this is why this humility, this cultural humility, this grace, this connection with people, why it matters so much. And why our next generation of little children matters so much. Because the people that, your parents and the people that loved and poured into you, that brought you to the U.S. and Utica and all of those things, you're shouting out. And man, that's what stuck with you. And it's so crucial to who you are now as a mother and as a leader and as a wife and all of the above, and as a friend to me. Those problems, not only how you framed them, but those problems framed who you are today. And it's just a rad person that I'm so honored to know. So I'm gonna ask you to keep going in the story, but thank you for that, because I know that's a stingy part to have to share through. I get that.
Yeah. So I left my father bewildered when I was 17 years old, and I said, I'm joining the Marine Corps. And
I can't wait for that one.
Oh God, he spent his life getting me out of a war. And then his daughter, not his son,
right?
Which, it's not easy as a father to put any kid into that kind of position. But then, we still have this, like, I even look at my daughter now, and I find myself doing it too. And I'm like, you just look at your little angel, right?
Right.
And you're like, you can't go to war. Are you kidding me?
Right.
But, I've had these mentors that I can, I wish I could name them all, but Ruth Tabor, Commander Piper, Gunner, rest in peace. Like, all these people that in those years when I said, I'm joining the Marine Corps, and I signed those papers to enlist, and I had my date and all of those things, that stepped in and said, Maida, stop. You have to go to college. And I said, I'll go to college after. Literally. I was like, I can't afford college. I'll go to college after. That's my plan. And anybody that knew me back then knew the stubborn, like, hard-headed, and this is it's my gift and curse. When I decide to do something, it's pedal to like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the people that knew you back then, or just the people who knew you.
Oh, okay. It's
void of time.
Okay.
That's not a problem. It's a good thing. It's who you are.
It's a good thing. Yeah. Like, once I decide that I'm doing something, then I'm doing it. And in there, and I still remember the conversations I had. And it was Commander Piper that came up to me and he said, I hear you. You're going to go to college. But would you be willing to do it differently? And I said, all I want to do is be a United States Marine. And he said, I know. Have you heard of the Naval Academy? And I said, no. And he said, it's a military college. And he explained everything that it is. It's a military college that if you get selected, you can get commissioned into the Marine Corps. And I was like, what's commissioning? What's an officer?
What are you saying?
I was like, what are all these words you're using? Right. All I want to do is be a Marine. I didn't know there were officers and enlisted, right? Because to me as a little kid, the reason I wanted to join the Marine Corps and not any of the other services, first and foremost, no disrespect to it. I looked at all of them. Right. But to me, it's what resonated the most with my story. Mm-hmm. It's the few, the proud. It's the things that you have to do. You go through the crucible. You have to go and you earn it. You really do. And I felt everything up to that point I've had to earn. Mm-hmm. Everything. Nothing was given. Nothing. Right. Going from a cup to a plate to a apartment to a house to a home. All of those things. It's my parents earning it. Mm-hmm. But that was my gift. Right. Is having parents that fought and fought and fought and continued and continued. So I listened, because even though the stubborn young girl and stubborn adult that I am, I try to listen, and I try to look things from other people's perspective. And I said, what do I have to lose? And I talked to the recruiters, and they promised me, they said, I remember Staff Sergeant Arnold, that was his name, and Jones. And they said to me, if you get accepted to the Naval Academy, you don't have to go to boot camp. It's simple. So they encouraged me. And one of the recruiters gave me a Marine Corps coin. And they said, the only way you can keep this coin is if you get accepted and you commission. Because I'll be honest, they need more like you. And I still have that coin. I keep it in my coin box, and it's the first one that I have because it's the most important one to me. And, joining the Marine Corps, being accepted to the Naval Academy prep school first. I went to NAPS. I went to the Naval Academy prep school, and still kept that goal in mind to become a Marine officer. At that point, the goal changed. It's not to just become a Marine, but to become a Marine officer. And that framing is important to me because I went from, just being a Marine, which is important as it is, but then being in charge of the lives and the welfare, the morale of Marines under my charge. That changed the heaviness of the responsibility that you're about to go into, and that to me, I remember picking up the phone call when service selection night came around and calling my dad and, hey, Dad, I got the Marines. And he hung up on me. It's not the first time I've disappointed my father. He's like, come on, Maida, why didn't you go in the Navy? At least on a boat, you'd be far from from the ground where, you're carrying a gun. You could be somewhat safe. If your stubborn self is going to go do this, why didn't you join the Navy? I thought 5 years of schooling, you would have learned the Navy would have been a better option. And I said, sorry, Dad, I guess I'm just as stubborn as you are. But this man is as proud as he can be. And I did it. I did it. I became a Marine officer. And that's when I met you. And honestly, when you look at life and, the people that you choose to keep in your life, because I think we all have a choice, right? Absolutely. And the people that choose to stay in your life, because they have a choice. When you look at all that, some of the best friends that I have now started at about that age. And that's a very interesting thought because we were all in our mid-20s at that point, close to or older, depending on if you did some time beforehand. But that's when your prefrontal cortex is finally at a place where you can start making rational decisions. Up until then, everything was emotionally based. So I have to say, if you're a young cat and somehow this podcast reaches you, whenever you think you want to go make a decision and you've thought it all the way through, I don't know, ask somebody older what they think and try to listen. Because Maida in her 30s thinks very differently than Maida in her 20s and her teens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful way to frame it too, because I think there's a facet of curiosity that growing up and growing old can sometimes lose a grip on, that is so important. But there's something that you haven't gathered that does come with age, which is maybe some better discernment, maybe some more holistic perspective, if it's someone that's a respectable person that's actually grown and pursued these things. So when you can take the ambition and the drive and the curiosity of a young Maida and mesh that with the discernment and the foresight, and you can mesh just those two different generational perspectives together to frame the problem, which is, what does Maida want to do? Then that does become a really beautiful collaboration on, okay, what's actually best for you? Because that's the heart of it. Is like, what's the right next step? And void of your desires, it's all a moot point. But void of their perspective, maybe it's not really completely informed. Oh, I didn't even know what this commissioning thing is. So someone that can offer just a different lens and different options, not to persuade you, but just to give you more options. And sometimes that's it. And then encourage you with it.
And think about that.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
How that one decision, that one conversation, that one person that reframed, that took the moment to ask the question, what is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds to me this is what you want to do. Did I understand that correctly? And asking that type of question, like, let me play this back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, have you thought about this then? I didn't hear you say this, and when you think about things like that, and you I think we as leaders, both as parents and you in the military and business owners, this is our responsibility to the people that we lead, the clients, the kids, the family. It's this level of, curiosity.
Right.
And then ultimately problem framing.
Yeah. Ultimately the thing we're talking about. It comes full circle.
Yeah.
Well, before I ask you to unpack a little like post-commissioning and then want to mention TBS and follow on from there, let me dip back just really quickly before that into like your Naval Academy time. Because I know you played volleyball and some other things, but like if you can unpack however much or little you want that experience, because that's a really big deal. Like to think of hearing the beginning of your narrative of shaved head, 2.5 to 3 years old in a basement somewhere with a Bosnian woman sort of yanking you up and yelling at you and all these things. And you're having these very visceral memories of that, to now you're at the Naval Academy in the US and you're going for this commissioning. So what were some of the highlights or just things what was that like for you? That's such a cool trajectory and such a rare story. So what was that like to live through that as you?
It's, I never even thought about it that way, because you just brought two images to mind. The Maida with the shaved head that night in the basement of the church, to commissioning day, or to service selection day, when they sit down, all the men, and they shave their heads.
Yeah.
And I had a moment just then, right there, where I just, for a moment, like, wow. Like it came full circle, where I went from somebody that we just brought two very vivid images into my head. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but
you are.
The Naval Academy was
I'm hearing
hard.
You. Yeah.
Yeah. The Naval Academy was hard. I was in, and even the Naval Academy prep school, which if you graduate that, then you have to once again get a nomination to go to the Naval Academy and basically go through the process. And as long as you do all the right things, that's almost guaranteed if you do the right things, right? But I was in truckers English, is what they called it. I was in I don't know if they called it truckers math, but I was in all of the, like, help this girl learn English, help this girl learn how to math, all of the, like, the lowest levels of classes, because everybody else that was at the academy were the best, brightest, and like I remember walking in on the grounds, and Gia Mancini at the time, Gia DeHart, was my college roommate at the Naval Academy, and she also happens to be like 4'12", I like to tell people, and her and I would stand next to each other on the bulkhead, and I just remember looking at this young woman thinking, you must be the smartest person I've ever met in my life and incredibly determined, because what I had going for me was resiliency. I was physically fit, I was tough, and I was willing to pull up my sleeves.
Right.
She did it, she got in right through then and there, and I'm standing next to this person, and she was the one that was like correcting my English papers in between like having to submit them, and she was just like, like, what do good editors know? Like, she probably read this book back then. I don't even know if it was written, but she probably knew it, right? And she would like throw my paper back at me because we didn't have computers really back then, so we were like I think our year was the first year where computers started to actually be physically present. They have laptops now. But we had those like brick computers, so we would like we'd have to put it on a USB, move it over. Anyway, long story short, she would absolutely destroy my paper, and I would go, like you said, I played volleyball at the Naval Academy, which I walked onto the team, and the coach happened to be at the prep school one day, and I was like, I want to make the team. And just like you can imagine, how I once squeezed my way in to meet like Toby Keith and Katy Perry and President Joe Biden, I was like, I'm just going to go and do it. And I literally went up to the coach and I said, hey, I want to be on the team. And he said, yeah, that's nice. Can you play? And I said, I can play, but more importantly, I'm coachable.
Right.
and literally that's what I said. And he watched me practice with the intramural team. He was like, maybe she's got skill, maybe. And then it just happened to we just happened to have an opportunity to do the all Navy team. And I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's when you have all Navy volleyball, basketball, soccer, all of these sports where the different, like, all ranks come together and you form a team and you battle against the other forces. And I tried out for that team. And it was at the end of that, at the all Navy season, right before Bleep Summer started, where he looked at me and he said, Maida, I think you got what it takes. Come to tryouts, and I'd love to have you on the team.
Yeah.
And I remember how much those words meant to me, because I didn't have club volleyball growing up. Lisa Menning and the other coaches that were there at the Kelly, Biggie, Nassib, all of those coaches that were there, who also taught softball, basketball, volleyball. Like, I went to an inner city school where we didn't have those things,
right?
Where somebody can do volleyball their entire life, and then you go to college and you continue playing that sport, and then maybe you go professional, right? I didn't have that, so the fact that this man looked at me and said, yes, you can join the team, I wasn't going to lose that. But also being at the Naval Academy, knowing I had to study, knowing I somehow skirted through high school getting good grades just because maybe I had a good memory back then, right? That's not true at the Naval Academy. Yeah. I had to study. So my days, 4 a.m., practice. Then like some seasons you have practice in the morning, then you have practice at lunch, then you have practice in the evening, 3-a-days. And in between all of those things, you're still a plebe, or you're still a midshipman, and you're still getting yelled at, and you still have to get good grades. It was the hardest time of my life. The basic school was easy compared to that.
Yeah.
And I only say that because it was so mentally challenging to me, not the physical.
Right.
Yes, it was physically hard. But as long as you move your legs and arms and you just keep going, right? Like, you'll get there. But the brain, my brain has never been that challenged. And it was, again, the grace of people that got me through the Naval Academy. It was the coaches that got me tutors for after practice. I still remember 10 p.m. one day with a lieutenant commander in the Navy who came and taught me math so that I could make it through, my math classes and English, all of that. So sometimes it's hard to see the person that I am today. And a lot of my friends who don't know the backstory, they don't even know that I'm not American, like a white person, right?
Right.
The way we would define it, I guess, in America, not the rest of the world, but
Right.
They don't realize it until I say some kind of thing wrong, like I wish I could be the button on a wall or a fly on the wall. You know what I mean? Like it's not until I mess up a normal phrase or a word and I use it incorrectly that people can tell that maybe English is not my first language, and maybe I've had to learn and fight for everything that I got to today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's such a powerful thing to recognize.
I don't even know if I answered your
well.
questions.
You did. You were just sharing your academy experience, which is awesome because
it was hard.
Yeah, and I think it's really healthy to remember that there's probably so many people that experienced you then who maybe would never hear this, and maybe they will go their entire life never knowing the impact or influence they had on your development and trajectory, and they never even knew your backdrop or story. And that's so true of so many people because there's no way you can know everything about everyone, or even if you care, you can't intentionally know some of the nuances of all of these people that you come across. And again, I just think it's, in my mind, it's just the importance of really caring about people and realizing there's so much that goes way deeper than what meets the eye. And there's so much that you can either cultivate and grow in a good way, or you can squander away and snuff out based on how you approach people and based on how you value them as people. So people who just see you as another plebe or another whatever, and they don't actually care to help. Maybe you met people like that. Maybe it wasn't useful. But for those that really just genuinely wanted to help people be the best future officers they could be, they don't even know the story of you and the impact that had on you and the reason that you entered with your own framework for why this is so important. So I just find it so important to meet other people and realize that, like, there's so much of a story you don't know. So it's good to ask this question, what's your story? But also appreciate those stories and the gaps you can't even ever fill up. It's really a powerful thing. But yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me of a teacher. I was an oceanography major, and it was in one of those moments where, I think I had swimming, which is on one side of the campus for those who know. And then I had to go to oceanography, which is completely on the other side of campus. And I was habitually late. And anybody that knows me, I'm usually late to most things, but just habitually late to this class. And the teacher just had it, and he kicked me out. He said, you don't want to learn, don't be here. And I remember that broke my heart. I was like, oh my God. I just literally ran over here as fast as I could, dripping wet still. And this man kicks me out. And it kind of brings me to tears to think about it. And I went back to my room, and I wrote him an email, and I said, I think you have the wrong impression. And I sent him this email, and I explained everything, And this man, he could have been like, yeah, F you, I don't care, whatever. But he didn't. The next day, he took me for a walk down Stripling, and he asked who I was, what I was doing, why I was at the academy, because he's like, I thought you just didn't care. I thought you were just an athlete. And sometimes athletes get a bad freaking rep, especially Napster athletes. You get a bad rep because you got there a different way,
Right.
You didn't get there because of the traditional commissioning sources. And when he heard why I was there, and he actually stopped to listen, all of a sudden, our relationship changed. It really did. And the way he taught changed. And the way I was able to receive his information changed. And that's powerful. And that's, I hate to say it, framing. Because he had a frame of reference of what he thought the problem was, of who he thought I was. And once the frame changed, all of a sudden there was a different solution to how I arrived to class on time and how I'm able to not miss critical minutes. Those critical beginning minutes when he reviews whatever it is we learned the day prior. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, thanks. That's a perfect case study from your life of just exactly what sinks into my mind when I hear this story of all these encounters and you sharing your story and how many people walk by you, me, how many people do I walk by every day? And I'm quick to snap
You just
judge
don't
them.
know.
And I just don't know. And I think maturity and wisdom has taught me the value in not jumping to those conclusions, but just asking questions and then letting them, fall on their sword if that's what it is. And then you can use discernment to like sift through the behavior or the response or whatever. But instead of being quick to cast judgment when you don't know, like making assumptions, if you want to circle this back to like a planner's mindset, we make assumptions based on the enemy. And we have to continue planning. So something that's an adversary or out to hurt us, and I couldn't just go have a cordial talk with them because they would probably kill me. I just need to make some assumptions so I can keep making a plan. But if I'm trying to solve a problem, if I'm sitting here making assumptions on, let's just call it a friendly force or someone who I should be aligned to, that just shows that I'm ignorant, I'm arrogant, I'm lazy, or all of the above. Because why would I assume something that I could just validate by asking a question, shut my mouth, opening my ears, and hearing you out? So again, it's like when you're framing a problem, let's get the old proverb going of like, be quick to listen, slow to speak. And I'll just say instead is maybe slow to anger, like slow to pull out your jump to conclusions, Matt, and start jumping on it. Like just go like, hey, Maida. Like, and I'm good on you for having the courage to recognize that and be like, hey, I need my voice to be heard. He didn't hear me right. So, and then good on him for finally hearing you out.
And I really I'm grateful because like I said, he could have ignored that email. He could have.
Sure.
But he didn't.
And positional power as a teacher could have caused him to say, whatever, I don't need to listen to you. And maybe in the organizational structure, he didn't. But I think in that position where you are put over someone in leadership or whatever, the onus is 100% on your shoulders to be the one that listens quicker than anyone else with an intent to actually understand. So, man, that's great. So, okay, you commissioned, and then if you can give us a snapshot of, because I know you're not a commissioned officer now, but what was that like once you accepted your commission and sort of that journey? Because all of that has brought you to where you are, who you are, what you're doing. So what does that part of your story look like?
Honestly, I spent seven and a half years in, I think it is. And I was a public affairs officer, communication strategy and operations officer now. But I remember sitting at TBS and when we were ranking like which MOS, which occupational specialty that we would like to have versus the needs of the Marine Corps, right? I was told all of the ones I wanted, I have to take off my list because I probably wouldn't get a top secret clearance, ironically. But I'm an officer. Anyway, long story short, so then I started to have to look at all of the other options that I had, public affairs being one of them, logistics, communications, the, zeros and ones, not the speaking kind. And I think all of the various aviation ones that were still left over for me. And every time I went we had our meeting with our SPC, and every time I went in, my top three changed. Every time. And I was like, I really don't know because I came in here thinking I was going to do intelligence. And he was like, why, Maida? And I said, because I think the way, wow, this is ironic. I never put it together. Because I think what we think we know about the information we have makes us act differently on decisions. And I want to be part of that process to discern information and be able to present it. And I think that's really important to me. I really got into research. I really got into like the whole problem framing. I don't want to keep saying that word, but like this is the topic of the day. And it's just ironic how
this is like the one episode where you can say it all day long. It's the virtue. It's
but it's ironic how it keeps showing up in my life. Like this is what I want to do. And he said, if you can't do that, the next closest thing is public affairs. What do you think of that? And I remember I was like, I have charisma. Because I thought public affairs, you just kind of need to have charisma. I was like, I have charisma. I can talk to people. He said, I think you do, but I think, Maida, you're missing the important part, which is in public affairs, you have to do the exact same thing but you're doing it from a public perspective. And that's when it clicked. And that's when this whole new trajectory of my life and who my identity and why I started my own business and why I like what I do what you love what you do, right? That all changed in that moment for me. And I put public affairs first. And that is a very competitive billet in the Marine Corps at the basic school. And it is crazy because I think we had 4 public affairs officers graduate from that company. 2 of them were in the same platoon, and that's me and Gabe. And that's unheard of, to get 2 chosen from the same platoon. And I couldn't be more grateful for that, because then from there, I spent the next 7.5 years serving in that capacity. And it was always operationally. I went from 2nd Marine Logistics Group, where I deployed with CLB-2, to 2nd Marine, 2nd MWA, to, God, where did I go after that? 15th MU, deployed with the 15th MU, 1 MEF, where I served as the current operations for the new communication strategy and operations group. And then from there, you know, injuries caught up to me that happened very early in my career. And I spent my entire time in the, you do Marine Corps martial arts, and I got hurt very early in my career as a lieutenant. You show up to your new unit, you start grappling, you start doing all this ground fighting and things like that. And this Marine just like had me in a hold, and he kept squeezing, and I couldn't tap out. And you heard 2 pops, and that was my neck and my arms, everything went numb.
Ouch.
And I you can't be a pansy in that moment, because you're the new lieutenant, right? So I try to brush it off, and I try to be tough with it. But that moment, for the next 6 years, I spent in pain management, in and out of pain management, in and out of emergency rooms, because my neck was just so messed up. But I never told any of my leadership, because I didn't want to be framed as the Marine that's hurt. Yeah. Because you hate it, I hate it. And I hate it to this day. And it made me kind of lose a lot of respect for some leaders, that the second a Marine is labeled as being hurt, you're either you're disposable, or you're faking it. And that kind of sucks. And towards the end of my career, I went from being the number 1, number 2 Marine on every single fit rep to the person that got shipped away to Wounded Warrior Battalion, and slowly medically retired out of the Marine Corps, which is where I'm at now. I medically retired. And I kind of hate saying that out loud, because I always had a dream of doing it forever.
Right.
And I didn't think, and the words, until they kick me out, I didn't think that would happen so soon.
Yeah.
And that shit sucks. Sorry, girls. I don't mean to cuss.
Well, I mean, they've heard it before. It's okay.
Yeah. But so.
It does. That shit does.
It sucks. And it hurts. And the people that you thought would show up in your weakest moments, sometimes, the train keeps going and they didn't jump on.
I know.
And so I started my own business, because, and in starting my own business, I did it with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that purpose is to help small business leaders get the same quality of strategic communication, counseling, and advisement that the big companies get. But they don't have to pay the big price, because I don't do it for the money. I don't do what I do. I do what I love what I do, because I think it's important.
Can I, hold on, you just said that, I got to inject. This is so funny. This is, whatever. When you said that, it made me, just saw a meme the other day. I got to chop it up with some comedic value, because when you said, do what you love what you do, it made me think of some interview. And she goes, don't love your job your love. And then they're like, that's so great. And then these people have been taking that and just going to town on it. And it's like,
you gotta send it to me. I haven't seen that.
Don't face your fear your face. And so they're just like doing all these obnoxious swaps of words. So when you said,
do what you love what you do.
I forget. I don't even remember.
I'm hip.
Yeah, maybe it was, I don't know if it was a Kardashian. It was just some female was getting interviewed on a podcast. And I'm sure it was, I'm not sure it was great. It might have been ridiculous. Who knows? But I heard that soundbite of it. And everyone's like, the person that's interviewing her is acting like, that was just so earth shattering to, don't love your job your love. And it sounds like just bananas crazy thing to say. So when you said that, my mind went there. And then people are just like putting these like heavy metal riffs over it, singing like these flip-flop things. It gets ridiculous. So I'll send it to you. You need to watch it.
Send it to me.
Okay.
But another sidetrack of heavy metal riffs is the new riffs that they're doing on like a whole Eminem CD in slow jazz.
I know.
That's fire. Do I spend a lot of my time listening to Eminem and slow jazz? Yes, I do.
Well, again, let's be real. Like part of our stories is listening to just old, really good hip hop. And then when I was like, when I'm talking to Maida before we do this episode a few days ago, I sent her a message. I was like, hey, I have some of the questions that have been sent in and some that I have for you and whatever, and I'll share them with you. Yeah, because it makes an interview more meaningful if it's not off the cuff. So you can take the time to really pour into some of your perspective for this. And she was like, oh, thanks for sharing. I thought we were just going to like riff old school rap style. I was like, well, we can also do that. And I expect that. Like the questions are structured. The space between is totally off the cuff or off the hinges, as we might say. So yes. Yeah, we do. Like whatever. Some of the music that was bumping in the hallways when we were going through training was fantastic. And you kids these days need to listen to more of what we listen to because it's better for you. Yeah.
It is. It is.
But anyway, but I will say, like, I know it's frustrating, some of that towards the end of like the medical retirement. And yeah, I've seen a lot of those stories in my time in, and there's even stuff in my story towards the end of this career that I'm winding down on because, like, there's things where I think the expectations that we have of certain people when they might fall short, that can cause frustrations or discouragement. But I just want to say, like, even at this point, and I love this, that we're this far in and we haven't even got the past what's your story yet because we're still there because it's so good. And I'm so glad that I have this time to just unpack it as much as we want because this is what makes it rich. And this, to close out this year with this episode, with this friendship and this connection it's everything because I don't know what tomorrow or the next year holds in store, but these moments to do this and to really just like sit in the moment and appreciate the moment and like reflect on things and appreciate where we are at here and then look forward with, okay, so what do we do with all of this for our future, for our kids, for the ones we love, and for our purpose with our businesses? I think of a lot of that because, with what you're doing and what I'm doing, I have like a lot of skills and a lot of things to gift back. And it's not about the bottom dollar, making these 10X promises to big people who have already made it. I just want people to have first-class coaching that comes from my heart, my passion, a lifestyle of doing stuff like this really well. I've educated myself towards it. And then I'm like, I just want that to be available to everyone. And there's no hidden agenda aside from like, if you are successful, I feel like a success in life. And that's your heart too. And I think it comes from both of us having stories that are they're raw, they're gritty, they're real. And then we come out the other side going like, I just value people who can recognize who they should be. And I want to be a part of that journey. And I just want to honor you with like whatever has caused you to land where you are at right now. It's exactly where you should be. And it's really cool to see you in this space, modeling an example for your family, to be shouldering up next to your husband and loving and supporting him with where he's at, and just speaking so honorably of your relationship with him. And that family nucleus is so important to me because I think back on like who your parents were and how they worked together and strove so hard to take care of you and get your family to where you can now be the person you are on this episode today. You in your own way, you might not even know it or see it all, but I'm confident you are doing those same sorts of things for your children that I'm sure of it. One day they will look back and appreciate the things you don't even know you were doing that they were watching. Because that's how life is. And I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it because that's your heart. And when it's for other people, when it's selfless, and when you're helping them trying to overcome life problems through the stuff you've had to learn, I think it comes through in the end. I really do. So man, I'm really proud of you. I know it's hard work, and it doesn't mean that none of us have arrived. But I just think the heart behind the message and the heart behind your purpose for what you're doing now with you and Gabe and everything and all of the in-betweens, it's just very pure and honest because I know you. And so I take a lot of joy in honoring other people who are doing the same sorts of things because there is no competition. Like I'm my happiest when you're successful. And it's so cool
Exactly.
to give you this. It's really awesome.
And I think those are the friends you need to have in your life. The ones that challenge you to do better, but the ones that cheer your success on. And I don't know,
Yes.
sometimes like people they learn that the hard way, and sometimes they get to just have it, and when you have it, you don't let go of that. You don't let go of that.
No,
you keep them.
You don't. And I think it's so good to just, I don't sit in this space for other people for any sort of clickbait or following or anything. Like, I sit in this space so that maybe one day my daughters will hear my voice with people that I love and respect, like you and others. And if I'm dead and gone before they are, and I pray that's the case because I hope they all outlive me, I would hope that they can look back and be like, man, Dad left something that was meaningful, and he had a voice that he shared with Maida on this. And that was so cool because I remember, like, we've got to meet our families up. But like all of these stories, it's going to mean something. And I look at, why would I compete with someone or have an angle against someone like you when I look at you? And when I actually listen to your story, which I definitely have before, but even in a new light today through this lens of problem framing, and I go like, man, when I hear you sharing stories of you as a 3-year-old, I'm seeing you through the lens of my 3-year-old Karina. So like a successful, like 30-plus-year-old Maida to me is just a 3-year-old little Maida who's like a 3-year-old little Karina. And I'm like, man, what a gift that would be to have someone who's a young man, a little kid, a toddler now, fast forward 40 years and he's hosting Karina, and she can reflect on the gift of her parenting and who her mom and dad were and the stories that brought her to the success and the love and the challenges and the joy. Like everything we've unpacked so far, I'm like, you're just a grown-up 3-year-old little Maida. And that story, like I think it helps like knock off these rough edges of trying to go at each other and trying not to see each other as people. Because like you were just a little girl one day and now your success, why would I not be filled with so much joy for you? Like your story has nothing to do with me. It's all about you. And that's just, I think that's a really good reminder for people. Like get out your own way and let other people like pour into your life. And it's so rewarding. It is so rewarding.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I love it, man.
I know.
I love it. I have like 50 million things I want to say about that, but I think we should probably continue because we'll stay on for hours.
We will. Well, you know what? You're welcome. You're welcome for that. Way to wrap up the year. But I do. So this next question, I love that we're going to get into some of these to get a little bit more from theoretical into some practical. So I think these questions will help. And I really hope people can press into this. So this next one, where have you seen emotional reactions quietly dictate decisions long before anyone ever tried to cite the facts to justify what they did?
You see it every day. You see it every day. You see it in marriages, in siblings, in families. You see it in government. You see it on the streets. Yeah. But it's human. That's the most important part to remember. If you can understand that 9 out of 10 times we're driven emotionally before we are factually, and that's why really good marketers and really good salespeople, like, you got your Simon Sinek golden circle. We start with why. That's why, we have gut feelings. It's because we react with the amygdala. So where do you see that? You see it every day, everywhere. And it is skill and repetition and intent that takes you from an emotional reaction to a practical reaction. I won't even call it maybe a strategic reaction, but it's okay to have an emotional reaction as long as you understand, pause, why, and you become curious about it, Yeah. And that's what, like true. Becoming a parent has changed my life, because I look at my toddler and, millennials often have to reparent themselves to no fault of our own parents. They lived in a different generation, and especially my parents, they literally survived like wars and things like that. So like millennials, there's a picture I saw, a study I saw through like a carousel thing on Instagram that showed a picture of a dad with his son, and then there's like a ghost, like a lit up little version of the dad as a kid. And all of us are reparenting ourselves as we parent our kids. And when you think about an adult in a, C-suite office having a tantrum over something, it is the exact same tantrum my 3-year-old is having. The exact same thing is happening in his brain. He just cannot figure out, or she, why this is happening. And the difference between an adult and a toddler is that the adult should have the skill sets to identify it and say, oh, I'm reacting emotionally, viscerally right now. Let's pause and get curious. But as we, try to teach that to our toddlers, that's exactly what we're doing. Like, hey, take a deep breath. What are you feeling? And you get to the root of the problem. And all of a sudden you realize they're hungry and tired. And now everything else is hard.
That's it.
So
yeah, it is. And it's, I think it was Richard Restark from George Washington University said that, I'm not going to get this exactly right, but you're going to get the essence of it. Like, human beings are not intelligent or thinking
machines.
Beings that feel. We are feeling machines that think. And that is the essence of emotional intelligence. And it's true. You, in the military, in the Marine Corps, they might say, oh, you need to sense to make sense. Like, you're sensing with all these things to get targets. But like, the truest way that our mind is wired is the senses are what inform the thought process. So we see, we taste, we touch, we smell, we feel, we blah, 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 blah. The senses and the neuro system that's all it is. It's primed to take these feelings to then inform how you process and think about it in your big old CPU between your ears. So when you think that way, people try to outthink a problem before they can appreciate as a leader, I think, the emotional feeling and the emotional vibe that's happening. And that is why emotional intelligence is so powerful. To first of all, understand who you are, understand how you communicate and the style in which you communicate, understand those you are called to lead, how they desire to receive and be communicated to. And it's never a perfect thing, but you have to try and explore that space. And the quickest way to understand that, sure, maybe psychometrics can help. Sure, maybe assessments can help. But you're still only going to get so far with that. The best way to do it is to just sit down and ask really good, thoughtful, open-ended questions to learn about someone and then actually hear their response without a clap back, without a defense, without a trying to justify or, telegraph the past. Just say like, hey, tell me about you, and whatever they tell you, take it. And then try to dig deeper to understand the context. And again, whatever they tell you, take it, right? It's just like, so that curiosity as a leader will serve you so well when you need to solve problems, because then if you maybe know your people, you can go, ooh, I have a problem. And instead of throwing a tantrum, I know Maida has experienced this before because holy shit, I've talked to her before. And she's one of the people I care about. So now she can bring something to the table that helps us all. But void of those conversations, you don't know anything. And you just have more problems, which is why reactions happen. Because I don't emotionally get frustrated with something that's not problematic. I'm happy with that. So problems are the essence of all emotional, visceral reactions. So solve them. How do you do that? Probably all the people you got around you on your team, if you knew them. Probably. So I love that.
Yeah.
It is a simple concept, but oh my God, it's so complicated.
Very hard to put into practice.
Yeah.
But like all things, you have to make it second nature. You really do.
It is.
You really do.
It is. And you said it. It is a practice. It is a discipline. It is something you have to really focus and hone in on all the time. Mm-hmm. You always have to be attentive to like, how well am I listening? Am I spacing out or am I actually dialed in? And if I know I don't have the emotional attention right now, it's okay to tell people, hey, I need to take a beat and take 30 to catch fresh air. Let's re-engage with this conversation once I collect myself because I'm not focused and I need to focus. Like knowing yourself well can then dictate how you live in that space well. I have found anyway. But
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I have to go back to something you said that
please do.
I haven't heard the phrase clap back in so long. You said the words, and I was like, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention.
Now I got your. Now you aren't focused at all. You're just like.
I was like, the Ritalin is wearing off.
Oh God! I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I did that to you.
No, but that's awesome. That's awesome. The fact that you just smoothly included into conversation. But it just reminds me of like, yeah, it just reminds me of like something my husband does, and this is something that I'm grateful for the rest of my life. It's like, you know, when you get road rage and you're like, why'd that person do that? Or like somebody does something to you that's really rude on the subway or something. You're like taking it personally and immediately you get emotional. And you know what Peter does? Like at first I was like, you know, no, it actually never bothered me. He would go, well, maybe she's having a bad day. And I was like,
yeah, you're probably right.
You're probably right. You know, and there are some people that will hear that and go, oh, I could change my frame of reference on this. And you choose to do that because then you choose to give yourself peace, right?
Right.
But there are some people that are wired and, you know, they are just wired to go, no, they still, just because they're having a bad day, that doesn't mean they can take it out on me.
Right.
That's also a choice. And when we make choices, we literally start digging trenches in our brain for this is how our brain will react every time this happens.
Yep.
You know, what is it? Neurons that wire together, fire together, whatever the saying is. Yeah. So when you think about like, how do we apply this to emotional intelligence or how do we apply this to problem framing? Well, you have to literally practice it.
You do.
99% of the world does not just do problem framing really well.
That's right.
You have to practice it. Emotional intelligence for most people does not become like a second nature thing. You have to practice it.
Right.
You know, another thing that my husband made me aware of is that I am a chameleon in whatever environment I'm in. Like I will pick up both accents and this is the worst when I'm around British or Australian people because all of a sudden, you know, like and I hate it and I love it and I hate it because it's a fun party trick, but it happens naturally. Like where my brain just whoop, you know, start to like assimilate to whatever environment you're in. But when you think about like peel back, well, why do you do that, Maida? Why can you notice every sense of temperature in a room? Why can you notice a simple micro expression?
Right.
Why can you do that? Well, for me personally, for Maida, it's my story that got me to here.
Right.
It's refugee centers. It's dealing with PTSD, dealing with families, dealing with trying to like grow up in an inner city life where if you didn't read the room correctly, you get clapped back. Right.
Yeah.
So,
or just slap back.
For me, yeah. So it's a survival mechanism that my husband looks at and he goes, wow, this is something you do. And that's incredible. Not many people can do it.
And it's a gift.
But I look at it, right, it's a gift. And I've changed it over the years as a like survival mechanism to a gift because I think the way you frame something, again, changes what you do with that gift.
Yeah.
Now I can take this gift that I have to assimilate in a room and go, oh man, like I'm going to have to go to this thing and I'm going to have to like try to like talk to people and this and that. Or I can go with, I'm going to be fine because I know when I go into this thing, this is what I'm capable of.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. I'm going to give you an example of this. So as you were talking, I pulled this up and I was absolutely tuned in, but I wanted to pull this up because it's a good reminder. I walk a lot of people through in their initial coaching sessions. It's called the VIA Strengths Assessment, and it talks about character strengths. And it's this sliding scale of strengths where, again, this is viewing everything as a strength. It's just either overused, underused, or it's actually balanced. So I'm going to take two examples. So curiosity. If it's overused, it's nosiness. If it's underused, it's disinterest. Optimal use provides exploration and seeking novelty. And I just love the way that's framed because, again, you talking about Peter looking at this emotional reaction and going like, well, she's just having a bad day. So it is trying to see a strong side of it and view people's strengths in either their misapplication, underapplication, no application of it. But from a coaching mindset or a development mindset as a parent even, the words I choose with my daughters, like maybe they're not being curious enough. And I'm just like, oh, you're not interested. Or could I frame it like, oh, what would it look like if you're a little more curious and then we could seek some novelty in something you never found before? Usually kids, you don't have to challenge them in that. But let's talk about something else with maybe 3 little girls. I want to teach them how to love well. And I think this is a really important one too, because you're talking about showing grace to people or people that have shown grace to you. I just hear that word as love because it's very synonymous in my mind. So an overuse of love in this model is viewed as emotional promiscuity. And I sort of love that word because it's true. It's like, am I emotionally promiscuous? That I'm like giving you way more emotion than you deserve to get because maybe I don't know you that well. Or maybe that's just going to drain me without getting my well recharged. An underuse, again, it's emotional isolation. That's not healthy. Or optimal use.
Numbness,
is it? Yeah. Or optimal use that says maybe it's a genuine reciprocal warmth. And so I just love that concept of your husband going, maybe she's having a bad day. And some people might hear that and get annoyed by it and say, well, maybe they're just whatever. I promise you, whatever emotional target you're aiming at with people, you're going to hit it 100% of the time. Because if you're seeking to find the things wrong with people, we're all fallible humans.
You will find them.
And you're going to find it. You're going to find exactly what you're looking for. But if you look at some of those negative things and you frame them from, this is a strength that might be underdeveloped, or it's a strength that's way overused and it's too much. How can we balance it? From a true coaching heart, you go, you have so many good qualities inside of you. How can we balance it? How can we even kill the ship? How can we get it right? And then you don't project these things onto people. You just listen to the intent behind their actions. You try to get real good partnerships and connections so where you can actually hear through all of that noise and see the heart of that person. And then when you really want to help them be better versions of themselves, you leave that space open for them to go like, how can we balance this strength out? So I love that you highlighted that about your husband, because that is a gift and you have it as well with people, but it's like, I want to honor Peter in that too, because like that is an uncommon thing that can frustrate people. But I think it's a genuine heart from him to just be like, I don't see that as a negative thing. It's not all about me. They might just be having a real trash day. And that's a really important thing to do to frame things up. And it keeps you a little bit more at peace in life because you're always going to find people gunning for you if you want to look for it. I promise. Always.
And that's a really important thing that, you find what you look for. And, that statement in itself, if you were to play, a movie of your day, and on one side, you're watching it from a frame of, maybe they're having a bad day and you choose to look at things positively, you might have a really good day. But somebody bumped into you and you didn't think anything of it. This happened, you didn't think anything of it. The metro stopped, you didn't think, like you were able to emotionally bounce back. But if you were to look at it from a frame that's negative, then all you're going to focus is on the negative things. And there's a really cool video that I saw where it was about a mom going through the day with her kid. And the first 10 seconds of the video is her just having a breakdown because the kid is like, uppy, uppy, uppy. And then the kid like drops a cake on the floor, breaks the glass, this and that. And then the dad comes home and he sees the mom like super like distraught. And he says to his daughter, "How was your day, honey?" And she recounts it. And the daughter says, "I had the best day ever. We dropped a cake, but mommy and I were able to clean it up and we played with it." This and that. Like, so from the kid's perspective, like everything that went wrong to the mom, the kid looked at it and was like, this was the best day ever. And I think that right there, like, and then the mom, and this, like, maybe you'll have to play this video or put a link in if I can find it. The mom was able to then smile and take a deep breath and say, you know what, I am doing okay. Because I think us as parents, we just need to know we're doing okay sometimes,
No, it's so true. And exactly, like give yourself some grace, but also that is such a good reminder of if you could see life through your child's eyes and the life that might be stressing you out, I think not that you need to be hard and cover all the things that bother you, but that's such a beautiful way of unpacking the truth that before you're quick to jump with a negative frame into anything, especially as a parent, I'm constantly challenged with that as a father. What misinformed or completely inaccurate frame am I giving my children on life or on the smallest of things that are really rooted in my insecurities, inadequacies, BS? Like, why would I give them that negative thing when it's not even warranted? And I think maturity and being attentive and caring about others appreciates like everything that they learn to do is caught before it's taught. So before they can even define it, they're observing and modeling it. So who do I hope my daughters to be? That's the person I need to model to them. And my wife needs to model. And we constantly talk about it. We can't talk about it enough. Like, and we check each other in a loving way all the time. Like, hey, I'll look at her. She'll look at me like, hey, babe, not the time. That's not how they're going to take it. And so like in a loving relationship where you care about people, and this applies to leaders too, organizationally, people are going to catch the culture that you put out there for them. So your words, your reactions, your vibe, your emotions, all of it matters so much because that is the frame that everyone enters that space with, is what you offer them. Relationally, it can go nonstop through it permeates every facet of life. And that framework is powerful. But I think the most tangible, practical thing for me to view it is, like you said, as a parent. Like, how would your little girl really see it? Like all the crap that you're reviewing, I'll bet you she had a great day. So I think it lets you like relax your shoulders a little bit and go like, okay. And I'll offer this too, to take it a layer deeper before we go to the next question. I also very frequently, I've said this on other episodes, but I constantly ask my daughters, hey, sweetie, what emotion do you feel when daddy walks into a room? Or what was it like to experience daddy after this happened? If I know it was a thing that bothered them, I'll be like, what was it like when I was around you with that happening? And then I just listen, because that response reveals so much about how I am actually presenting and being received outside of my own mind. And to like, really my heart is just to be the best dad I can be for my girls and the best husband and model and example and blah, blah, blah. So like in those moments when they're comfortable, maybe give them an ice cream so that it's like the kid's truth serum or something, right? And be like, hey, when daddy walks in a room, like, what do you think? What do you feel? What? And then sometimes it's great and sometimes it challenges me. And there can't be any repercussions for that answer. It's honesty. And then you just thank them for the honesty. And if you're wrong, you apologize immediately. And if it's good, just say thanks for that and tuck that away as a win. But as a leader, again, you could probably ask your people, if you make that culture, what's it like when boss walks in the room? What's it like when I hold a boardroom meeting? What's this like? And if you made a place where it's open communication, it might sting, but you're only going to get better if you listen to that. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
That's deep.
Anyway.
That's deep.
No,
and
that's Josh's brain.
I hope no, I love that. I love that. And I hope that if somebody's listening to this, they don't think it's too late.
No,
like
that's
if you
a great
are,
point.
it's never too late. It's never too late. You can always fix things. It's only too late when you've totally removed yourself from the solution. When you've totally decided to disconnect, then it's too late. But until then, like if you're the boss of a team that's dysfunctional right now, it's not too late.
It's not. And I love that mindset. Like it's part of my logo, the hammer and the mortar trowel, because my dad worked construction up until his dying day. But so much of what he did some new construction, but he was a master at building restoration. And that's the heart of like, there's very few businesses, like maybe you need to help with like new business models and building something from the ground up. But when it comes to character and virtue and identity within leaders and their teams, once you're an adult, you're not really building that from scratch, but there might need to be some restoration work or some, so like restoring and making it more fruitful, or, manipulating the pieces to fit together better, to grow stronger and be reinforced. That takes some hard work. It's just work, but it can be done. It's just, you got to have a plan and stick to it. And people like Maida can help you out with that little plug there. So moving into this next one, because you have seen a lot on this scope, and I think this is, I'm excited for your response to this, to be very honest. So no pressure, but all of the pressure. In teams or organizations, what do you find is usually more dangerous? Having no shared frame at all, or having a shared frame that is totally wrong?
Oof. When you sent me your questions, this one really stuck out to me. And I think it's a really important one for us to dig into, because it might feel nuanced, but it's not. Because to me, a team with no shared frame, they're disorganized, right?
Mm-hmm.
They take longer to get to solutions. They might argue. They might do something that it might take them 3 hours, where a team with a shared frame might find the solution a lot faster, right? They're just disorganized. But where I think teams get into trouble is if they have a shared wrong frame. And that's dangerous. And I don't use the word dangerous lightly, because we both have the military background. So for us, problem framing is everything. But in a day-to-day use of framing, having the wrong shared frame, you might get to the solution fast, but you were solving the wrong problem. And as a business owner, and some of the things I focus on is crisis management, you can see a company that did something bad, and then they put out their statement, and then they get canceled. And all of the CEOs are sitting around the room, like finance this and that, like, what went wrong? We said all the right things. Well, you didn't understand the problem. You didn't frame the problem properly. So you solved the wrong problem. And I think back to Netflix back in the day, way back in the day. This is before they just acquired HBO and Warner Brothers. Because I think they're doing better now with how they frame things. And I saw it in the last email they just sent. But back in the day, when Netflix decided to increase the pricing and remove CDs from their offerings, some kids don't even know Netflix did DVDs. Uh-huh.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. But they almost lost their entire company because they didn't understand what people were upset about. So every single time from that point on that they communicated, they were communicating the wrong thing. They were solving the wrong problem. So it's dangerous. It's dangerous because it can affect lives, both in a combat perspective, but it's dangerous because it can affect the livelihood of employees and of people that interact with your business, your company, your product. And then if you peel it back even further, as a parent, it's dangerous because your decision to discipline your kid when they come home late one night, and immediately to jump to a conclusion before you figured out why they were late that night, could change that relationship you have for the rest of your life. It's dangerous. So no shared frame, disorganization. Just takes longer to figure it out, especially if you don't have trust on the team. It just makes it so it makes problem solving and getting things done harder. A shared wrong frame. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's worth the pregnant pause for people to just sit with that, because I think it's yes.
Yeah. And there's an example that I think of, and that's there's this hospital in London where the NICU, they saw these, like, it was one of the most excellent hospitals in London for neonatal surgery. And what they were seeing is these kids, the doctors would perform successful surgery on premature babies in the NICU. And during the transfer, so the 72 hours after they completed the successful surgery, kids were dying. And it was in one of those moments that, if I remember the story correctly, two of the doctors went into the cafeteria, like lounge area, absolutely defeated. And they were wondering, like, we almost lost this kid. What are we doing wrong? And in that moment, like on the TV, if you can like picture it, the Formula One race car pit team is going, and the pit team is working so smoothly. And this doctor had an idea, and he said, maybe that's the problem. Maybe we can learn something from them. So he had an idea that he brought to the board, and he said, hey, these two doctors, can we invite the Formula One pit team to see how we do the transfer from after surgery into the post-operative? And all the doctors were like, how are you going to have a mechanic teach us surgeons how to do our job? They don't know medical processes. They don't know the science. They're mechanics. And the doctor said, for a moment, he said, looking at it through curiosity, I don't think we understand what the problem is. I don't think it's the science. I think it's our procedures. So these doctors flew to Italy. They watched the F1 do it live. But then the pit team came and observed them. Surgery, after surgery, transfer. And within like hours, they had feedback. Everything, basically everything in their processes was wrong. They were unplugging things in the wrong order. Doctors were shouting over each other. One wrong oxygen line, if it was unplugged too early, could risk the life of a baby. This is lives matter, right? The way you choreograph this matters. So I bring that example up because a team with the wrong shared frame is dangerous because doctors believed surgery would solve the problem. When in fact, babies were still dying within 72 hours or very much getting sick again. But it was reframing what they understood and saw as a problem that got them to a solution. And it took a really, that hospital, what is it called? It's like Great Ormond Street or something, Great Ormond Street Hospital, I think, in London. Good on them. Yeah. Good on them for listening, and good on them, the two doctors, for not immediately shutting down when they were told, what would a pit crew team be able to teach us, the world's best surgeons?
Yeah. And that's, I love that. The purpose of what they want to accomplish is saving lives. Got it. And I think you're exactly right. Everyone wants the same end game, but then maybe a little bit of arrogance or ignorance or all of the above get in the way of just being able to humble yourself enough to open up to a different perspective. And it takes me back to what you said. There was a book about everything that was happening in Bosnia and how they said if there would have been some women informing those decisions and mothers, there wouldn't have even been a war.
Yeah.
And it strikes me. I can't even tell you how much those comments strike to the heart of me, because that is the space that I try to have. So my mentor coach, who coached me through when I was getting all of my certifications and accreditations, just such a dear friend now. Her name is Bobby Sue, and she was one of the first, she was the first ICF credentialed coach in Alaska. And I specifically chose her, and I've told Laura this, I've told her this, it's no joke, it's no hidden secret with anyone. I chose Bobby Sue, first of all, for who she is, but I knew that I wanted a female mentor coach as I stepped into this part of my career and life journey, because I just value how much strong women have influenced and impacted who I am as a man. And it hasn't emasculated me. It hasn't made me feminine. Quite the opposite. It has actually given me
I was about to say quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite. Not at all. And I think that's when you're strong in who you are and in your identity, and you enter a space with humility, the truth and true identity isn't afraid of itself. I'm not afraid of who I am and who I believe I've been made to be. But then I really am eager and hungry and craving perspectives that not a middle-aged white man who was raised in America can offer. So now I do have a French colleague who just joined me to the Norwegian Joint Headquarters in Buda to give this planners workshop. And she also is well-trained in gender stuff and at the strategic and operational level. So she's a French commander in the French Navy. She was a prior enlisted as a petty officer. She's such a good friend. Her name is Stephanie. Oh, I just love her to death. And me and my buddy Jens, who's a German. And again, he comes with his own nuances of culture that are different than mine, being a German, lieutenant colonel paratrooper. And so we all have our own perspectives. There's no bad weather,
only bad clothes.
That's right. But then when you enter Stephanie and her experience and her cultural exposure to growing up in a small little village in France and then being a female coming through the Navy. So like the way she views planning and problems, I can appreciate it, but I also appreciate I can never jump to that first. So her first off the cuff is something that if I ever came up with it, it would take me a long time. So our efficiency and our effectiveness, and I think the depth and breadth of what we bring as a team, training all of these top-notch planners at a joint headquarters in Norway, man, what value added to have Stephanie. And so these spaces, having Bobby Sue as my mentor coach, even all these conversations with you, there's just stories and perspectives that you as a strong woman bring that I will never be able to offer my daughters. So the best dad that I can be realizes, man, my girls can learn things so much quicker and more effectively if I just bring the right people to this table to have a chat with them. And if I bring the right people into my life to where when those people aren't there, I'm hearing a perspective that Maida or Bobby Sue or Alana Nicastro or even my wife or my mother or my sisters, like all of these women that have like across the globe, these perspectives that they come with that I've listened to, I hear their voices now when I talk to my girls and I'm like, ooh, that's the voice they need to hear in this. So as a leader, just as a daddy, it makes it so much richer. And it gives me such an endless toolbox. And that's all I want to do is I want to just help mold them into who they need to be and give them opportunities. And I'm just going to hit my plateau really quickly if I don't bring these voices. And I would just encourage men, like, don't just do it for lip service just to be like, oh, well, I'm just doing it so that it looks like a good PR stunt that I can have this woman. Like, now you can go look at my track record of episodes. Like, I just value the different and the other than me, not just to be unique and different, but because there's so much core value in the diversity that we bring as people when we're humble enough to make space for it. So I love that you shared that, because those doctors going like, I need these Formula One guys to come tell us what's up. And if they can't, what's the harm lost? Like, maybe we could learn something.
I mean, seriously, they changed their entire processes after that.
It's amazing.
They were able to reduce like the fatalities by a really high percentage. I think it was like 42% or something like that.
Yeah.
And it all takes a different perspective. And, you know, I'm really proud of you both as a man, a father, a Marine, to be comfortable to mentor women and to speak to women and to listen to women. And, you know, one of my really good friends that I met here in France, her husband is a special forces lieutenant colonel. We hang out all the time. But one of the things that I love about him is he's just like you, in the sense that he like talks about his previous leaders. He talks about people he's mentored, and oftentimes he's mentioning women. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, you don't know what it feels like. And I'm out now. So the way I interact with people nowadays is a completely different lens than when I was in.
Sure.
But what I would have given to have leaders like that leading in my vicinity, even in earshot, because we need more men that are comfortable leading women and being led by women.
Yes.
Because it really, you know, I'm going to bring that book up so you can put it into the comments section.
Please do.
Because it does change. It does change how we see things, and it is scientifically proven. Everything from how we think to even language is scientifically proven to change. Language, culture, identity, all of those things changes how we make decisions and how we view problems.
Yeah.
So, you know, in Germany, a bridge might be masculine, but in another language, it's feminine. And in another language, it's just an it. But if you put an identity to it, destroying that bridge might mean something completely different to one culture than another culture.
Yes.
And that, that concept is a really big deal when you think about problem framing. And when we fail to do this, when we fail to have the perspective of somebody else's understanding of a problem or why they're solving, or a culture or the identity, or, you know, the pronouns that somebody's using, when we fail to look at that perspective, I think we're failing as leaders. So you can be the highest ranking person in the world, whether you're in the military or a civilian. But if you discount the opinions of people that are different than you in any way, different in any way, then you are discounting a perspective that could influence a decision. And good leaders will listen to that and go, oh, wow, I could be influenced to make better decisions. I'm going to try to do that. Bad leaders will hear that and go, that'll take too long.
Right. Yep. 100%.
But what's ironic is cleaning up the mess that'll come in the aftermath of a bad decision because you didn't want to listen to the perspectives. So my advice for anybody who cares about what I have to say, I'm humbled enough to be completely wrong in this, but take the 55 minutes to understand the problem before you jump to making the solution or making decisions.
Yeah, or having the wrong shared frame. God, it's so caustic. It will just disintegrate everything you're working for. We can't be perfect. Everything. We're human, right? But it's you can know when. And I love what you said earlier, like having the courage to say, like, maybe that's not the right thing. If every decision you ever make in a complex organization is never challenged, you're wrong. Like, it is that simple. Let's make it simple. If you're never challenged as a leader, and it's just you're circled by everybody who agrees with you,
bad decisions.
You won't last. You won't last. You can read. There's a book called Loon Shots by Safi Bacall, and it's about the crazy ideas that, like, when wars save lives, blah 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 blah. And he's a Harvard physicist, but it's brilliant about like those crazy little ideas that people tried to snuff out, but they actually are what spurred humanity to continue to grow and evolve, and all of the great innovations that did all of these great things. That one day were just probably viewed as like, that's a loony idea. That's crazy. It's like, it makes me think of Looney Tunes, and I hear the theme song every time I read Loon Shots, but it's supposed to elicit that mindset of like, that's sort of wacky. Yeah, maybe just wacky enough that it's the right thing. So if you're just constantly having the same shared frame and you haven't made any culture where anyone can step in and go like, nope, and intelligently do that, not just to be a naysayer, but to make it better. If it's always agreeable, you're just wrong. I'm sorry. Life experience just teaches you that. So I think that's such a valuable thing that you highlighted there. Like just in the irony of trying to clean that trash up in the aftermath. Dear God, you don't want that. And you might not be able to clean it up is the honest truth. Like it might be the thing that buries you.
Might not. Yeah. And that's what I try to help leaders understand when I talk about crisis management, is do the hard work in the front.
Yes.
And you'll never need to hire somebody like me. And that's how I fire myself, is I try to teach you how to do the thing right the first time.
Right.
And
there you go.
Have the discipline to do it.
Or just keep being people and you keep hiring us, and we're okay with that too. I guess we got to make a living. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. So, I got to make a living.
We got to do it somehow. Maybe we're just statistically monetizing the fact that like people are going to be people and it's going to happen. So maybe we'll always be employed. That's all right.
Yeah.
But at least we're honest with you.
But if we can reduce the population of people that, we can reduce it, then I feel like we've made a difference.
That's good. So for you, with your experience, when you feel resistance, and this is getting personal, but I know you'll be honest with it. When you feel resistance to another person's perspective, or maybe let's just say their frame, what questions help you move from defending your framework to actually exploring theirs?
I mean, I think the first thing that I think of is oftentimes when I personally start getting defensive, it's an illusion that my answer or my frame is the right one. And that's the challenge, right? We all believe, like, immediately when you start getting defensive, you start to have this like, no, but what I said was right. What I'm doing is right. What I'm, but if you pause, and I think there's two questions that come to my mind. It's what would have to be true to see it from their point of view? That's question number one. What would have to be true to make their point of view true, to make their point of view right? And then two, what problem are they actually trying to solve? Which is the heart of problem framing. And you can flip the order. It might be even better to flip the order. What problem are they solving? And what would have to be true for them to be right? And if you stop with those two questions, the ability to have an emotional reaction, it's almost unplugged. Your brain moves from here to here, and it unplugs the desire to be defensive. It unplugs the part of the brain that is reacting with bad habits, and it forces you to react with curiosity. And this is really hard proven in science. It's a core idea with a lot of behavioral psychologists. And that's why simply by asking the question, what problem are you solving, can save a marriage, but it can also save a country from going to war. And that's as simple as it is. That's
simple
how you disconnect.
Sometimes the best.
Yeah, but it's not the easiest to implement, and that's why
it's true.
You need discipline, and you need to be willing to be curious and vulnerable.
So true. It's so good. So, final question before we start landing this plane, which talking with you is amazing. It's such a gift to have this long with you. I guess time does fly when you're having fun, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do this all the time. Now these long form podcasts where some people are like, how can they go on for hours? I'm like, man, you don't even know when you're talking with someone that is just so good.
And there's no alcohol here. I'm drinking water.
There's not. My coffee's gone now, but I was having coffee because it was a early morning study session for me. But if you were to walk away from this episode and this chat on problem framing, and you reflect and you're like, and I know this is difficult to do, but I want you to take a pregnant pause to think about it. If we stopped recording, you're like, ooh, I wish I could get that back to say, I wish Josh would have asked me this, or a listener would have asked me this, or I wish I would have said this. What would be sort of like your last plug for this concept and this idea? And what would you really want to leave people with? And what would you want your voice to be married to if it was all they heard from you on this idea of problem framing? What is that, and how would you respond to that?
I think it's the book that I was mentioning. And if I'm recalling it, it's starting to come back to me. I think it's titled, This Is Not Our War. I'm going to verify that. But if there's one thing that you can take away from this, is the way you frame a problem changes everything. It changes how you make decisions. It changes how you, what solutions you implement. It really changes everything. And taking the time to do the problem framing, to understand what problem you're solving, will save you a lot of heartache at the back end, and will make making decisions a lot easier. But don't fall into the trap to have people in your group that all share the same frame of reference. Surround yourself with people that are different from you. Surround yourself. It's important. Because Maida from Bosnia, Austria, Germany, America, many states within America, and now France, has a very different perspective on the world than Maida had she grown up in just one spot. Then Josh, then my husband Peter, then my brother, who I love dearly, my big brother. Every time I get the chance to talk to him and see things from his perspective, I think that's what I would want people to go away with. Surround yourself with people that think differently, and make it a habit to do that.
I love that.
Make it a habit to do that.
I just searched it up. I want to make sure this is it. But it's by Swanee Hunt, and it's This Was Not Our War. Bosnian woman reclaiming the peace.
Yeah. I think that's right. And I got to meet her when I was honored. And I say this with all my heart, when I was honored to receive an award from the same night from the I'm gonna butcher the ABCH, American Bosnian. Oh my God, you're gonna have to edit that out if you do any editing. But I received an award from this organization that that year they were highlighting Bosnian women leaders, or women leaders, not Bosnian women leaders. I just happened to be the Bosnian and the youngest person that they honored, but Madam Swanee Hunt was the ambassador to when the war was happening, and she was taking notes on, all of these women's perspective, and she handed that book out that evening, and I got her signature on it. And I remember reading it, and that quote really stuck out to me.
You nailed it, by the way. It's the ACBH, the Advisory Council for Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Bosnia and Herzegovina. Oh my God, please don't hate me, guys. I'm bad with acronyms.
No, we don't. That's teamwork. I got you.
Advisory Council for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I got an award that meant the world to me. And I remember when I was flying from Camp Pendleton to Washington, D.C. to get the award, to receive the award, and I was surrounded in a room full of so many people that have done so much with their life. Like, I can't even explain. I was surrounded by military leaders, by this ambassador, by the mayor of Sarajevo, and then so many kids like me. And I say kids like me because when I told my story, people my age lined up and they shared theirs. They're like, your thing about the cup? Oh my God, my parents gave us candy all the time. And I thought they were just being nice, but that was the only thing we had to eat because that's what people gave us.
Oh, man.
So I thought eating candy every day was a cool thing, And it's little things like that. They gave me these bits of stories that it brings me to tears to think that as a kid, the frame of reference we have for what we're going through in the moment, that was probably one of the most important nights of my life. And when I received that book and I read that quote, if women and mothers were in charge of the decisions, there wouldn't have been a war. Ladies and gentlemen, problem framing.
Oh. Man, that's so powerful. I'm so thankful for this and for this. Because problems aren't going anywhere in life. They're a byproduct of life, and it's not a bad thing. The way you think of them and view them is framing them. It's a part of just learning and growing and trying to do messy life with clunky, awkward people together, hopefully for a shared purpose. And when you view it that way, it's such a beautiful gift. I'm so honored to have you here. And before I close it out, as always, to Laura and Aria and Alessia and Karina, my girls, I love you so much. This is always for you. First and foremost, and stand alone above everything else. That's the whole purpose. And what a gift to end this year that's been packed with gifts and challenges, to just hear your story, to share your story, to hear your voice, Maida, and to be able to, it's not ironic. It's sort of jaw-dropping to me that we're talking about the curiosity that empowers this ability to frame problems and solve them together. And that's how we started the year with Alana, is curiosity. And that's how we're ending the year with you. And everything in between has just been gold. But I cannot think of a more meaningful, to me, of a more meaningful conversation to end the year with. I can't. And to leave with my little girls and those things that you share from such a radical story. And the fact that you're alive today. What a gift. Can we just appreciate a shaved head, 2.5 to 3-year-old little girl in a basement somewhere in a war-torn country who is now with a thriving family, a loving family, a head full of hair, alive and well, speaks multiple languages. Look at that. Not too shabby. I think sitting in these moments and reflecting on a year, reflecting on all of the ups and downs and in-betweens, and just coming out with another day and another gift of life and friendship and connections and love that we can share and some meaning to hopefully make some positive change. And it's always for you girls. So this is always what it's for. And if other people benefit from it, which if they listen, there's no way they can't, I'm happy, but that's not the real purpose here. The real purpose is for them first. And then the byproduct is useful for others. That's great. So I hope you girls know that. I love you so much. And this is just such a rad opportunity. But for you, I'm honored and humbled and sort of blown away, even though I know your story, to hear it and be very cliche with it, but to hear it through the frame. And when it comes to this virtue development mindset, like we can view things, but when we choose to put a frame that helps us grow and get better at something, and we choose that frame and that lens to view everything, it's powerful. So if I'm taking discipline for a 2-week model, and the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to like focus on my own holistic discipline and growth, or I'm going to focus on humility the next 2 weeks. Like you can never go wrong with taking a good thing and letting that be the frame through which you try to grow and live life. And problem framing, it's not a bad thing. It's a byproduct of doing life. And it is so laced and riddled with grace and humility and social intelligence and emotional intelligence and curiosity and culture and the power of questions. And all of these things come together to like our ability to have a virtue that wants to correctly frame a problem individually, collectively, as leaders, as followers, as people. And it's not going anywhere. So like the ability to use this lens in this conversation to hopefully put over anything we're looking at and give a proper perspective. I promise you, like you heard me talk about the girls and you talk about your family. I don't take lightly. And this is the last episode of the year, so I'm going to say some things, man. Like there have been a lot of people who have tried to unsolicited inject themselves into like, hey, I'd like to come on your podcast, or I have this person. I've had people fall away because I said, I'd like to have a conversation. And then they got offended because they were like a loose social connection on social media. And because I didn't jump at the chance that they thought I should jump at, they got offended and stripped off. And that's fine. That's not my purpose, isn't to elevate or make a platform for you. My purpose is to help people hopefully have a meaningful frame through which to live life. And the voices that I bring on this space matter. And it's not like if you're listening to this and you think that you or someone you know could bring some value to offer to the audience that I just told you matters most to my little girls, I'm so happy to have a talk and get to know you. But if you think it's going to be a quick, rash decision before I know you, you're wrong. Bye. Get out of here. I don't care. I love you as a person, but I'm not going for that fame or glory. It's not it. It's offering a lens to my girls in your voice, Maida, like, because I know you. You have to earn those parts of the story, and you have to be close in connection to earn these stories. And your transparency and humility and grace to share some tough things today. I hope you know how much it means to me. I really, really do.
Brother, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, it means the world to me. And the fact that, I went into this thinking about your girls because I know you've said this to me before. And I think like girls, if you're listening as a mother, I find it easier to connect with you guys sometimes because you're so malleable, you're so coachable. And listen to this. Listen to the time your dad spends doing this stuff, talking to people, because the best gift in life is knowledge. And that's diversity of knowledge.
Yeah. It's so good. But I'm going to give the mic over to you to close this out for the year. But I just want you to know, for you and also for Peter and for the kids and the people that are helping make space so you can be alone with me to share this voice. I know it doesn't come without a support structure, because the same goes for me, and to Laura helping me. And I love y'all. I'm so proud of everything you're doing. So thankful for our friendship and for your life and for those that have poured into it, and that I get just a chance to be a part of it. It's amazing. And as we close out 25 and look forward to 26, to all of you, she literally is going to have the last word. So I just want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for anyone that's dialed in. It means the world to me. It's everything to me. Hopefully this has been meaningful. But Maida, you got the last word for 25, and we out. And I'm so thankful for you.
I'm grateful for you, grateful for your family, grateful for my family as well. And Irene, my babysitter, because I'm not sure if she's staying here an hour later or if Peter has taken over at this point, but we did go a little bit long.
We did.
And I'm incredibly grateful that she takes such, it takes a lot for a parent to trust somebody with their kids. And And Irene, if you ever watch this podcast, I want you to know how much I love you and how much of a dear friend and family member you are to my kids, to our family. I don't trust easily, especially when it comes to my little ones.
Mhm.
So I'm grateful, very grateful. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy holidays. I hope they were good for you. And if you're still celebrating or getting ready for the new year, make good decisions, have fun, and just get ready for the next year with an understanding that problem framing is not a bad thing. It might be the most important thing you do. But as we teach in crisis, in every crisis is an opportunity. So change the way you think about the problem and surround yourself with people that will challenge you and make you grow.
So proud of you. We'll see you next year.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Off the Hinges. Don't forget to follow Foundational Coaching on your favorite social media platforms. Kick off your Saturday with me tomorrow morning at Coffee and Reflections on Substack, where I'll share my reflections and stories on the weekly virtue. I'm honored to be a part of your story today, and I'm proud of your growth, my friend. I can't wait for our next time together, exploring the vault.